Welcome back. Nobody ever tells you the rules that matter most. You only find them out the hard way. Tonight, we'll go through the unspoken rules that decide how life really works, like the no one is coming rule, the simple answers rule, and plenty more you've felt but never had words for. So get comfortable, because this is going to be a long one. Silence has a way of exposing the truth. No cavalry, no lifeline, no secret shortcut. Just you, your breath, and the next right move. That is the no one is coming rule. It is not a sentence. It is a key. The moment you stop waiting for rescue, you stop being stuck. Ownership is a muscle. At first it shakes. You will want to hand your life to an expert, a partner, a mentor, a miracle. But every time you outsource your power, you shrink. Every time you claim responsibility, you grow. The rule says your body is your job, your bank account is your job, your boundaries are your job, your peace is your job. Not your parents, not your boss, not the algorithm, not luck. Start where you are, with what you have. Make a promise so small it feels almost silly. Drink a full glass of water before coffee. Make your bed as if you were someone you respect. Move your body for 5 minutes. Send the email you keep avoiding. The point is not heroics. The point is momentum. Action creates evidence. Evidence builds belief. Belief fuels bigger action. That loop is how you rescue yourself over and over. You will be tempted to wait for confidence. Do not. Confidence is the receipt you get after you pay with courage. You will be tempted to wait for clarity. Do not. Clarity is earned by walking through the fog, not by staring at it. You will be tempted to wait for the perfect plan. Do not. Direction beats perfection. A decent plan executed today is better than a flawless plan you never start. The rule is not about isolation. It is about leadership. Ask for help? Absolutely. Seek mentors and friends? Yes. But ask as a leader of your life, not as a passenger. When support arrives, it meets you already moving. When it does not, you keep going. Build a daily floor, not a fantasy ceiling. A floor is the minimum you do, no matter what. A short walk, read a few pages, a simple meal cooked at home, a few minutes of stillness. When life gets loud, your floor holds you. When life gets quiet, you stack on top of it. Expect setbacks. Expect doubt. Expect days where your best is smaller than you hoped. The rule still holds. You adjust. You rest with intention, not avoidance. You forgive quickly and recommit faster. You become the person you can trust. No one is coming, and that is the best news. Because you are already here. You have hands to build, a mind to learn, a voice to ask, and a heart that refuses to quit. Stand up. Choose one useful action, then another. Being the most helpful person can quietly tape a free labour sign to your back. I learned that the hard way. I stayed late, volunteered for every extra task, and became the go-to fixer. At first, it felt like progress. People thanked me. My inbox filled with praise. Then the praise turned into expectation, and expectation turned into a treadmill. More work led to more work, not more reward. Here is the quiet truth. Systems reward what is visible and valuable to the mission, not sheer volume. When you do extra without framing, it disappears into the baseline. Your kindness becomes capacity in other people's plans. You carry more bricks and the wall looks the same. The escape is not to do less. It is to make your effort legible, scarce, and tied to outcomes. Define what winning looks like before you start. Ask, what problem does this solve? How will we measure it? And what changes if it succeeds? If that is fuzzy, pause. Clarity is not a luxury. It is a contract. Trade do not absorb. When a new task appears, respond with a calm handshake. I can take this, and here is what drops or shifts to make room. No drama, just math. Scarcity is not selfishness. It is honesty about time. Narrate your work. Share short updates that connect actions to impact. Not a diary of hours, a story of results. Here was the bottleneck. Here is what we changed. Here is the metric that moved. Make wins easy to see and easy to credit. Invisible excellence is indistinguishable from luck. Build assets instead of only delivering effort. Turn the thing you do repeatedly into a checklist, a template, a script, or an automation. Teach someone else once, and you buy back future hours forever. Work that scales buys leverage. Work that repeats without learning buys exhaustion. Set default boundaries before you need them. Decide your cutoffs, your deep work blocks, your response times, your rush rules, and communicate them calmly. Urgency without stakes is noise. When the stakes are real, charge a premium in time, scope, or responsibility. If everything is urgent, nothing is important. Ask for stakes that match the stretch. If you take on a project beyond your lane, anchor it to growth. A clearer title, a specific raise timeline, a budget or decision rights. If the answer is only gratitude, that is your signal. Remember, recognition follows translation. Translate your effort into language that leaders value. Risk reduced, revenue protected, time saved, quality lifted. Move the needle, name the needle, show the needle moved. Do great work, then make it count. The rule is simple and strict. Do more unframed work, and you buy yourself more work. Do clear, leveraged, outcome-tied work, and you buy yourself more reward. Choose once, and the calendar will show you which rule you picked. That tiny stain on your shirt feels like a billboard. That stumble on a word feels like a scandal. But the stage light in your mind is much brighter than the one in everyone else's. Here's the rule that loosens your shoulders. Most people aren't watching you as closely as you think. They're not scrutinizing your every move. They're tending to their own. Psychologists have a name for this, but you don't need jargon to feel the truth. Everyone is behind their own eyes, busy narrating their own story. Picture a friend leaving a birthday party, replaying a joke that landed weird. They whisper, "I sounded so awkward." The host, meanwhile, is thinking about whether the cake knife was clean and who needs a ride. Your friend's disaster was to the room a flicker. Or consider the gym. You're sure every set is being judged, that your form, your face, your pace are on trial. But the person beside you is counting their own reps, unsure about their own shoulders, hoping no one noticed their pause. The mirror is crowded with people who think they're the only one in it. At work, maybe you mispronounced a name during a presentation. You felt heat climb your neck. You apologized 3 times. Afterward, you ask a colleague, "Did I mess that up?" They blink. "Oh, honestly, I was worried about my slide timing." Not indifference, just focus. Their focus. This isn't permission to be careless. It's permission to be human. Not invisibility, but freedom. Freedom to try, to learn publicly, to correct lightly and continue. When you stop performing for an imagined jury, your voice gets steadier. Your choices get braver. You have room to be good because you're not spending all your energy trying to be flawless. If your mind is buzzing, shrink the spotlight. Ask yourself, in one day, who will remember this? In 1 week, will even I? And even if someone does remember, what story do I want to model? Maybe it's this. You can flub a line, smile, and still deliver something that matters. Here's a simple move. Name and move. I lost my place. One moment. Then continue. No long apology tour. No spiraling. When you treat a wobble like a pebble, others step over it too. The house lights are brighter than you realize. Everyone's reading their own lines, missing their own beats, trying to make it to the end of the scene with some grace. Trust that. Use it, and let the everyone's watching less than you think rule turn pressure into presence. Less performance, more you. The last note of a song decides if you hit replay. That's how leaving works. You can show up messy, stumble on the first day, learn on the fly, and people might forget all of that. But the moment you walk out, the way you do it becomes the story they keep telling. Think about it. A teammate resigns and spends their final week documenting everything, lifting others up, and sending a thoughtful thank you. Another storms out with a dramatic message and a trail of unfinished tasks. Months later, who do you trust more? Who would you bring back? Leaving is not an exit, it is your signature. The leaving matters. More rule is simple. Finish like a pro. Start by slowing down. Before you announce anything, pause. Ask yourself what you want people to feel when they think of your name afterward. Calm, gratitude, clarity. Those are good answers. Chaos, bitterness, mystery. Not so much. Say thank you, but make it specific. Name the people who taught you, covered for you, or believed in you when you barely believed in yourself. People remember the echoes of their own names. Next, tie up loose ends. Return equipment. Close open tabs, literal and figurative. If you handle money, reconcile it. If you lead projects, hand them off with notes that a stranger could follow. Put links, contacts, deadlines and gotchas in one place. The gift of a clean handover is respect made visible. Own your part. If you made mistakes, admit them without drama. Apologies are lighter when they are clear and brief. Tell the truth without trashing anyone. Venting might feel like relief, but it rots your legacy. Keep your criticism private and your gratitude public. Praise upstream and down. Leave the room warmer than you found it. Be generous with transitions. Offer a few check-ins after you leave, with boundaries. Share your playbook, not your bitterness. If people reach out, respond once, then point them to the new owner. Teach them how to succeed without you. That is a higher form of loyalty. Leave on time. Not late, not ghosting, not dragging it out. Goodbye gatherings are not performances, they are bridges. Show up, smile, tell a short story that honours the team, not yourself. If emotions rise, let them. Your steadiness helps others move on. This rule stretches beyond work. Leave a relationship with dignity. Return the keys. Pay what you owe. Say what you mean. Kindly. Leave a home cleaner than it was. Leave a city having learned its manners. Leave a group chat with a nod, not a grenade. Leave a dream when it no longer fits, without mocking the you who started it. Starts are easy. Anyone can burst through a door. Mastery shows in how you close it. Leave like a closing ceremony, not a fire alarm. Because when the lights go out, the quiet after your footsteps is what remains. The sign says, no exceptions, but watch closely and you'll see the hinge. Money is the hand that knows exactly where to press. Not because people wake up plotting unfairness, but because systems are built to protect value, and value changes how tightly the rules get held. Here's the unspoken rule. The more you are worth to the system, the softer the edges feel against you. Not always, not everywhere. Enough to change outcomes. And once you see it, you can navigate without losing yourself. Think about a familiar moment. Two customers call about the same late fee. One has the basic plan and a thin history. The other has been paying for years, buys add-ons, renews without reminders. The agent hears the first story and quotes policy. The agent hears the second and says, "Let me see what I can do." The fee disappears. The rule never vanished. It bent toward value. Psychologically, people carry a quiet calculator. They measure cost, risk, potential gain. When that meter lights up in green, flexibility appears. When it lights up in red, policy hardens. That is not always personal. It is incentive meeting authority, and incentives shape behavior more than slogans do. This isn't a prompt to become cynical. It is an invitation to be strategic. If you do not have financial leverage, you can often borrow its shape. Anchor your request to long-term value rather than immediate need. Phrase it like, "I want to stay with you. What solution keeps us both whole?" People are more willing to flex when they feel they are choosing a win, not surrendering a rule. That reframe turns a standstill into movement. Another example lives at the velvet rope. A stranger waits and waits. A familiar face with a history of bringing groups and spending well is waved in when capacity is technically tight. It looks like favoritism. It is. It is also the venue protecting predictable revenue. You may not love it, but naming it helps you stop taking it personally and start planning accordingly. What do you do with this rule? First, refuse to confuse bending with worth. If you were treated rigidly, it says little about your character and a lot about their incentives. Second, stack the non-monetary currency you do have. Reliability, reputation, referrals, patience, clarity. Give people something true to protect. Third, choose arenas with clearer standards when stakes are high. Some systems codify fairness better than others. If you can pick the ones that publish the playbook. Finally, remember that you are also a rule keeper in someone else's story. When you have the discretion to bend, ask yourself what you are protecting. If it is only immediate gain, you may get the short win and lose the long relationship. If it is mutual trust, flexibility pays back with interest. The hinge is real. See it clearly. Use it wisely. And whenever you can, be the kind of person who doesn't need wealth to earn a little grace. There's a velvet rope in almost every room you walk into. A meeting table, a group chat, a family kitchen. People don't just want the best idea. They're scanning for the nod that says, "You belong here." That's the quiet engine behind so many debates that never needed to turn into battles. Call it the most people want in rule. Most people care more about being included than being right. When you remember that, you stop treating disagreements like puzzles to solve and start treating them like doors to open. Picture a team huddled over a slide deck. Sam says the headline should lead with the numbers. Jordan fires back, "No, the story goes first." It sounds like a clash of logic, but if you listen under the words, you hear the real ask, can my voice count? When that need goes unmet, the volume climbs. When it's met, the friction melts. Psychologically, feeling invited signals safety, and safety lowers defenses so people can cooperate instead of protect themselves. So what do you do? Before you argue the point, include the person. Not, "Here's why you're wrong," but "You're a key part of this, and I want your eyes on it." Then offer the bridge. Let's try your story first draft and my numbers first version, and we'll see which lands. Notice the order. You open the door, then walk through it together. When someone feels seen and understood, they're more open to conversation. Skip that step, and even good advice can feel like a shove. There's a friend example too. A text pings, "We booked the cabin for the weekend." You realize Maya wasn't added to the thread. The easy move is to send details. The door opening move is, hey, you're part of this group. We dropped the ball, you in. Inclusion first, logistics second. Suddenly it's not about the dates, it's about the circle being whole. Or at home, your partner says, we never do my ideas. Instead of debating the calendar, try, I want you in these plans. Let's pick one thing this month that's yours end to end. You are not forfeiting your needs, you're naming the need underneath theirs. Once that is honoured, the facts and plans stop feeling like fights. This rule doesn't mean truth stops mattering. It means truth gets heard after belonging is secured. That's the reframe. Not win the point, but widen the circle. Not prove, include, then improve. If you want to persuade, invite first. Use names, offer roles, validate presence. The moment people feel inside the rope, they reach for solutions with you, not against you. And that's when your best ideas finally have a place to land. The warmest texts seem to arrive holding a calendar. The check-ins feel extra sunny, the compliments oddly specific, and then the ask slides in like it was always part of the conversation. It is not evil. It is a pattern. People turn up their kindness when they need a door opened, a deadline saved, a ride, a yes. Here is how it looks in real life. A co-worker messages, you're the fastest person I know with spreadsheets. Beat. Any chance you could help me polish this report tonight? A cousin calls, I was just thinking about you. Pause. Could I crash at your place this weekend? Even small stuff does it. A neighbour waves big, drops a plate of cookies, and then, by the way, could you watch the dog? We recognise the rhythm because we have done it too. When we need something, we present our best angle. That is the everyone's nice when they need something rule. Psychologically, there is a name nearby: reciprocity. Give a little warmth, and people feel pulled to give something back. Add urgency and flattery, and it nudges decisions even faster. Naming this out loud to yourself matters because it gives you back a few seconds of choice. Instead of auto yes, you notice the pull and you decide on purpose. The point is not to be suspicious, it is to be steady. Scripts like this work because they mix a relatable moment with the why underneath and a simple move forward, grounding the advice in human behaviour rather than cynicism. Try a micro pause. Someone says, could you do me a huge favour? Let your inner response slow down. You can be kind and clear at the same time. Happy to help. Here is what I can do by tomorrow. Or, I am not able to take that on, but I can point you to someone who might. Boundaries delivered calmly often lead to better conversations because they create safety and predictability rather than a hidden yes followed by resentment. When we shift from reflex to intention, the tone moves from an unspoken tug of war to connection that is honest and sustainable. A useful habit is to test before you trust with your time. Offer a small yes first. If their kindness fades the moment the ask is done, you have your data. If they stay warm and they reciprocate later, you have different data. Either way, you are not guessing. You are observing. This keeps your generosity a gift, not a currency. One more reframe helps. Not every sweet tone is manipulation. Sometimes it is nerves, urgency, or a clumsy attempt at respect. Treat niceness as a signal, not a verdict. Ask, what is the actual ask? What is my capacity? What is the pattern? Then respond from there. The rule stands, but so can you. Generosity with a spine. Kindness without a leash. Let people be as nice as they want. You will be the one who decides what you give, how much, and when. Slow beats, shiny more often than people think. The quick flash is loud, but the quiet drip fills the bucket. That is the patience beats talent rule. Talent can open the door. Patience keeps you in the room long enough to build something that lasts. Picture two rookies starting at the same studio. One sketches brilliantly on day one, every line crisp. The other fumbles, erases, redraws, asks too many questions. Weeks pass. The gifted one shows up when inspiration hits. The patient one shows up on schedule. On a Tuesday, the patient one's lines are still wobbly. On a Thursday, they are less wobbly. A month later, the wobbles are a style. A friend texted me, "I am terrible at this." I said, "Give it a season. Set a tiny daily target. Keep it boring." They wrote back, "But I am not a natural." I told them, "Perfect. Naturals get tempted to skip the grind. You will not." Psychologically, patience shifts the focus from being special to getting consistent. It rewards process over outcome, which is the heart of a growth mindset and the source of resilience when things wobble or stall. Here is what patience really does. It shrinks the game to something you can win today. It builds confidence from inputs you control. It normalizes plateaus, because you know plateaus are part of climbing. It turns mistakes into feedback instead of verdicts. When you praise the reps, not just the result, showing up becomes its own reward, and showing up is what compounds. Patience is not passive. It is active pacing. It is doing less than you could today, so you can do more than you thought possible later. It is leaving fuel in the tank, so tomorrow is not a fight. A rested mind makes steadier choices and stays creative longer, which is why smart grinders schedule recovery before they are empty. Rest is not the pause at the end. It is part of the system that makes consistency sustainable. If talent is a spark, patience is the oxygen. Sparks without oxygen flash, then fade. Oxygen without a spark looks like nothing. Then suddenly there is a steady flame. Not speed, but staying power. Not just inspiration, but iteration. Not just a big leap, but 1,000 small steps you are proud to own. When doubt shows up, shrink the assignment until it is laughably doable. Draw one line. Write one messy paragraph. Ask one better question. Then come back tomorrow and the next day. Talent might win the sprint, but you are not running a sprint. You are building a life. Patience wins because time is the ultimate multiplier. Keep the flame fed. Keep the reps humble. Keep the door open long enough for your work to become who you are. The calendar invite looks innocent, but the moment you step in, you can feel it. The air is heavier than the agenda. People do not come to meetings for pure progress. They come to be seen, to protect territory, to trade favors, to test alliances. That is the rule. Meetings are politics. Once you recognize it, the fog lifts. Watch the opening move. The person who speaks first is not just sharing an update. They are planting a flag. The second voice either endorses that flag or quietly redraws the map. Seating tells stories. Who sits near the decision maker, who pretends to be casual at the edges, who takes the notes. Note-taking looks helpful, but it is also narrative control. The recorder decides what we agreed happened. Progress does not die in meetings. It gets bargained into pieces. People hedge because they live with the aftermath. They anchor with a safe suggestion, then wait to see which way the wind blows. If you show up only with answers, you will miss the game. Show up with a coalition. Pre-wire the room. Share your idea with the right people before the invite goes out and let them add fingerprints. By the time the meeting starts, your idea should already feel familiar to a few voices. Speak in headlines. Long explanations lose oxygen fast. Lead with your point, tie it to the leader's priority, then offer the trade-off like you have already done the work of choosing. If you must challenge, do it on the frame, not the person. Given our timeline, this keeps us safe but slow. If we care about speed, we need this other path. People defend identities, not spreadsheets. Aim for dignity, not dominance. Use phrases that steer the room. Say, for the record, the decision we are making is this, and watch the side quests shrink. Ask, what does success look like in 2 weeks? Time boxes force commitments. When action items surface, attach names and dates out loud. Silence is where deliverables go to die. You will not win every meeting. That is fine. Win the hallway. The debrief after the door closes shapes the next invite, the next agenda, the next ally. Follow up quickly. Capture what was decided, what was deferred, and who owns what. Send it clean, not smug. Remember the quiet power moves. Praise someone else's idea early to gather goodwill later. Volunteer to own a small but visible piece that de-risks the larger leap. Ask the question nobody wants to ask, but do it with care. People trust the person who names the elephant without setting the room on fire. Treat meetings like the arena they are. If you play the politics with integrity, progress returns as a byproduct, and that is how you get real work done. A shiny label on a plain jar can sell out a shelf. People are busy, scrolling, scanning, deciding fast. Titles become shortcuts. They signal status, competence, and power before a single action is proven. That is the title's impress rule. The name on the door often impresses more than the work behind it. Picture 2 people doing similar things. One calls herself an administrative assistant. The other calls himself an operations lead. Same calendar wrestling, same vendor wrangling, same problem solving. But one gets invited into decisions sooner because the title implies scope. Gatekeepers filter by titles. Algorithms filter by titles. Even your own confidence shifts when you wear a name that fits your ambition. Use this rule, but use it honestly. Choose language that tells the story of outcomes, not chores. If you schedule, coordinate, and fix chaos, that is operations. If you nurture relationships and retain customers, that is account management. If you write, edit, and grow an audience, that is content strategy. You are not inflating, you are translating. Titles should reflect the impact you own, not the keystrokes you press. Lead with value, then say the title. I help small teams hit deadlines by untangling their process. I am the operations lead. That order flips a switch in people's minds. On a profile or signature, add a short phrase that explains scope, like responsible for onboarding and quality across 3 product lines. You are guiding the shortcut your listener will take anyway. Also, guard yourself from the spell of impressive words. When someone drops a dazzling title, get curious about the map behind the label. Ask what they own, what decisions they make, how success is measured. Vice president at a startup of 5 and vice president at a global division are very different worlds. Titles are not lies, but they are not the full truth either. If you manage others, set titles with intention. A thoughtful title attracts the right candidates, wins buy-in with partners, and clarifies authority. It costs nothing, yet it shapes perception, which shapes opportunity. And remember that as people grow, their titles should keep pace. The name should match the impact, or resentment grows where recognition should. The quiet trick is this. You do not need to wait for permission. Start using language that fits your outcomes. Update your headline, your bio, your introduction. Speak to the problem you solve, then attach the clearest, highest, truthful title. Let it open doors. Then let your results keep you in the room. Because titles impress, yes, but results echo. And when the echo matches the label, people stop scanning and start listening. Silence moves faster than noise. In every room, there's someone chasing the mic. And then there's the person who leans back, watches, and gathers the whole picture. That person wins more often than you think, not because they talk better, but because they listen better. Listening is not waiting for your turn. It's reading the room like a map. It's catching the throwaway word that reveals the real problem. It's noticing the sigh before the sentence, the pause before the yes, the grin that doesn't reach the eyes. When you listen, you collect clues. Clues turn into patterns. Patterns turn into insight. And insight makes decisions feel easy. Picture a meeting that is going nowhere. Two people are defending their ideas, voices rising, each certain they've nailed it. On the edge of the table sits the quiet one. They're tracking who interrupts who, which idea keeps returning, where the tension spikes. When they finally speak, they ask one simple question. What are we actually trying to protect here? The room exhales, answers arrive. The solution shows up because listening pulled the thread. Or think about a friend who always knows what to say. It's not mind reading. It's noticing what others miss. They hear the word you repeat without noticing. They catch that your joke is a shield. They remember the thing you said weeks ago. They let silence sit for a moment longer than is comfortable and let you fill it with the truth. Here's how listening wins. It slows you down enough to see what is actually happening, not what you wish was happening. It makes people feel safe around you, and when people feel safe, they tell you what you need to know. It gives you leverage without pressure. The loudest person in the room burns energy convincing. The best listener saves energy by understanding. Practice is simple. When you feel the urge to jump in, hold one breath more. Ask a short question that opens a door. What feels most important right now? Then shut up and watch. Look for the first word and the last word. Notice when the pace of their voice changes. Listen with your eyes as much as your ears. Reflect back what you heard in plain language. That's not a performance. That's proof you're there. You do not have to be the center to control the moment. The person who listens carefully collects the map, the landmarks, and the shortcuts. Talk makes a splash. Listening steers the river. Let others chase volume. You collect signal. Quietly you'll walk away knowing the most, and that is how you win. It starts as a spark behind your ribs. A little rush when you spot the thing you want, the new role, the person across the room, the perfect apartment, the new gadget, the faraway trip. Your heart steps on the gas. Your mind builds a montage, and suddenly the world narrows to a single sweet target. Here's the quiet rule most people miss. We are wired to love the pursuit more than the prize. You can feel it in the waiting, the thrill of the unread message, the excitement of researching options late at night, the buzz of improvement when you practice, prepare, and plan. The chase pumps energy into the system. It gives ordinary days an arrow and a drum beat. Then the moment comes, you get the thing. The message lands, the offer arrives, the box is on your doorstep. For a breath, your chest lifts, and then, strangely, flatness. The spark dims. The mind is already scanning for the next hill. This is not failure, it is design. The chase is movement, and movement is what lights us up. But if you mistake possession for completion, you will keep finishing and feeling empty. You will think you chose the wrong goal, when really you chose the wrong story. So write a better one. Turn your goals into a trail of living steps, not a single finish line. If you are chasing fitness, fall in love with the ritual of early mornings, the quiet victories of clean reps and steady breath. If you are chasing love, make the pursuit about curiosity and care, not just the fireworks of the first month. If you are chasing career glory, tie your chase to learning, to the skill you sharpen and the person you become, not just the title on the door. Build little chases inside the big chase. Celebrate the draft, the rehearsal, the call you were nervous to make. Make room for savouring after you catch something. Pause before sprinting again. Name what is good now, because the chase will try to convince you there is only later. You can prove it wrong by taking one slow breath and tasting the moment you earned. Also, choose what you chase. The world will offer you endless targets that look shiny from far away and dull the second you hold them. Pick pursuits that still matter when the novelty burns off. A craft, a friendship, a cause, a way of living that makes your days feel honest. People love the chase. Honour that truth. Let it pull you forward, but steer it. Aim it at something worthy. Build paths, not pedestals. And when the prize arrives, let it be a place to rest, not a reason to run. The loudest applause you'll ever get often hides a quieter sound. Pencils, scratching tallies. You share a win, people cheer. Then, somewhere in the background, a comparison engine whirs to life. That's the envy follows success rule. When you rise, admiration shows up dressed in smiles, and envy slips in wearing the same outfit. You can feel it in small moments. A co-worker says, "Congrats on the promotion," and then adds, "Must be nice to have that kind of free time to network." A friend comments, "Love that you're traveling so much," then wonders aloud how you can afford it. It isn't open hostility, it's a tiny tug on your sleeve, a reminder that your progress woke up someone else's math. Psychologically, this is a status comparison reflex. Your success becomes a mirror, and people can't help checking their own reflection in it. The brain reaches for fairness, scarcity, and self-protection, and sometimes it grabs the quickest shield, envy. So how do you navigate it without dimming your light? First, expect the mix. Not cynically, just realistically. Celebrate the admiration and don't pretend the envy isn't there. Name it quietly to yourself. Some of this is pride. Some of this is prickly. That alone keeps you from over-explaining or defending what you've earned. Second, share credit without shrinking. I'm proud of this, and a lot of people helped me get here. That sentence holds both truth and ballast. It signals grounded confidence, which takes oxygen away from jealousy's fire while keeping your achievement intact. Third, invite but don't audition. If someone's envy masks curiosity, open the door. If you want, I can show you the steps I took. If they're not ready, let it be. You can offer a path without dragging anyone down it. Fourth, focus forward. Success compels you to keep building habits, not arguments. Channel the energy into your craft, your team, your next move. Staring at sideways glances is just another way of giving those glances power. Here's what it looks like in real life. You post your milestone. Public congratulations roll in. Then, a private message arrives. You always get lucky. You reply, "Luck helped, and so did a lot of late nights. If you're interested, I'm happy to share what worked." Their response is short. You don't chase it. You go back to your calendar, your priorities, your people. The reframe is simple. Don't take envy as a verdict on your worth. Take it as a signal that your progress is visible. Visibility draws warmth and shadow. That's natural. But it doesn't have to decide your next move. Keep the center of gravity inside your values and the work itself. When someone does meet you with genuine support, make a point to remember it and return it, because those are the relationships that multiply over time. Admiration claps, envy whispers. Let the clapping encourage you. Let the whisper remind you to stay humble and keep walking. Your job is not to quiet every echo in the room. Your job is to keep earning the applause you can stand behind. A tidy answer travels faster than a complex truth. It is lighter to carry, easier to repeat, and it makes the world feel less noisy. That is the simple answers rule. People prefer simple answers, even when they are wrong. It is not because people are lazy. It is because certainty feels safe, and our brains reward anything that cuts through confusion. Think about the last viral claim you heard. It probably fit on a bumper sticker. One cause, one villain, one fix. The real story, the one with moving parts and mixed motives, does not spread the same way. We reach for the short version because it soothes the itch for control. If the answer is short, we feel like we can act right now. You see it at work when a team latches onto one metric and ignores the rest. You see it in diets that crown one ingredient as the hero or the enemy. You see it in relationships when someone explains a hard year with a single label. Simple feels sharp. Complex feels slow. So the simple wins the first round. But winning the first round is not the same as being right. Wrong, simple answers cost time and trust. They get us arguing about the wrong problem. They make us overpromise and underdeliver. They turn living systems into cartoon maps and then blame the map when we get lost. So what do? With a world that runs on simple answers, you learn to speak simply without lying. Start with the shortest true thing, then add the next true thing. Lead with a clear sentence that anyone could repeat. Follow with a few plain lines that place it in context. Short truth first, longer truth second. Swap jargon for everyday words. Replace foggy labels with concrete pictures. Instead of saying this strategy optimizes synergy, say this plan helps these two teams share work faster. Instead of debts are bad, say some debts build, some debts bleed, and here is how to tell the difference. Give the mind a handle, then give it the door. When you hear a simple claim from someone else, test it without turning into a skeptic of everything. Ask what would change this answer and what it leaves out. If no change is possible, it is not an answer. It is a slogan. If nothing is left out, it is not a model. It is a fantasy. Use simple to open the conversation, not to end it. Give people a path in, not a trap door. The simple answers rule is real, and it is powerful. Let it help you cut through noise, but not cut off the truth. If the answer fits on a bumper sticker, carry it lightly. Power shifts the moment you stop chasing and start choosing. That is the heart of the careless. Control more rule. It is not about apathy or coldness. It is about loosening your grip on the outcome so you can tighten your grip on yourself. When your mood, moves and decisions are not held hostage by someone else's reaction, your presence gets quiet, calm, and unmistakably strong. Think about the last time you negotiated anything, a salary, a price, even where to eat. The person who could walk away without panic had the leverage. They were not desperate. That calm came from options, standards, and self-respect. Caring less does not mean not caring about people. It means caring less about pleasing in the moment and more about honouring what actually matters in the long term. This works in dating, friendships, and work. When you flood someone with attention because you fear losing them, you hand them the steering wheel. When you can enjoy them and still keep your plans, your pace and your boundaries, the dynamic balances, you are not performing to be picked, you are evaluating too. Here is the mindset shift. Care deeply about your values, your time, your peace. Care less about being liked by everyone, about winning every tiny interaction, about forcing a yes today. That space creates better choices. You stop sending 3 follow-up messages. You stop giving instant agreement to things that drain you. You let silence do some of the work. You ask for what you want and give people the dignity to say no. Try this in small moments. Before you reply, breathe and count to 3. Ask, what is my standard here? If they say no, am I okay? If the true answer is yes, you are free to ask clearly. If the true answer is no, you are now aware that your ask is really a plea. Do not send pleas. Send clear offers and accept clear outcomes. Detachment is not distance, it is clarity. You can be warm, generous, and still unhooked from the need to control how you are received. Ironically, that makes you more attractive and more effective. People sense when you are not trying to squeeze them, they relax. They meet you where you stand, or they drift. And either outcome is information, not injury. Set your non-negotiables. Decide how you want to feel in your relationships and work. Then align your actions with those standards. Reply when it suits your rhythm. Say no without essays. Reward consistency, not charisma. Hold your plan lightly and your principles tightly. The one who cares less about immediate approval and more about inner alignment will always hold the quiet power. Choose your center over their validation. Walk away when the terms are wrong. Stay when the energy is right. Care less about control of others. Control yourself. That is how you become unshakable. A strange thing happens when the finish line keeps moving farther away the more you run. You don't slow down, you double your pace. You tell yourself, 1 more mile, 1 more week, 1 more try. That pressure you feel isn't laziness leaving your body. It's the effort trap tightening its grip. The effort trap means this: the more energy you've poured in, the harder it is to admit it's not working. We don't want to waste what we've given, so we keep giving. Psychologically, our brains guard sunk effort, as if it proves value, even when it only proves commitment. Naming that pull is the first step to loosening it. For example, a friend shows you a side project that's dragged on for over a year. He's patched it, polished it, pivoted it, and now he's tired. He says, "I can't quit now. I've put in too much." You answer, "If today were day 1 and you had none of this history, what would you choose?" He goes quiet. "Honestly, I wouldn't start this at all." There it is. When you strip away the backlog, the choice becomes clear. That simple reset question cuts through the noise because it compares reality to a clean slate, not to the time already spent. The reframe is gentle, not harsh. It's not quitting, it's redirecting. It's not erasing the past, it's collecting the lesson and carrying it forward. Psychologically, that shift creates safety. You're allowed to change course without calling your past self a fool. You're allowed to protect your future, not just your history. A few cues help you step out of the trap. Try the day 1 test. If you wouldn't choose it fresh, consider ending or reshaping it. Try a pre-decided stop rule. Before you start, choose the conditions that mean you'll walk away, so later emotion doesn't overrule clear thinking. Separate identity from investment. You are not your hours, your late nights, or your receipts. You're the kind of person who learns. That identity travels, even when a plan doesn't. Here's the surprising part. When you let go sooner, what you conserve isn't pride. It's energy, curiosity, and time. Those are the raw materials that build things that work. And your past effort isn't wasted. It becomes context. It sharpened your taste. It taught you where the dead ends are. That's not failure, that's tuition. Picture yourself standing by a plant that isn't growing. You could pour more water out of habit. Or you could notice the roots are pot-bound and give it a larger home. That's the heart of it. Not more water, but a different container. Not more forcing, but better fit. When you feel the effort trap pulling, pause. Ask the day one question. Remember the stop rule you set. Trade stubbornness for stewardship. Progress loves honesty. It doesn't need you to push harder. It needs you to choose wiser. A crooked smile can buy time that a straight confession cannot. That is the quiet math of charm. We like people who make us feel good, even when they bring bad news. Honesty is the backbone of trust. But charm is often the face people forgive. When tension spikes, warmth softens the edges. A kind tone makes the same words land differently. A little humour releases the pressure valve, and suddenly the room is willing to hear the truth you were going to say anyway. This does not mean lie. It means lead with humanity. When you are late, a blunt "I am late" invites a tally of your faults. But a gentle "I know I kept you waiting, and I appreciate your patience" signals respect, lowers defences, and creates space to finish with the truth and a plan. People respond to how you carry your mistake before they evaluate the details of it. If they feel seen and valued, they forgive faster. Charm is not a trick. It is attention. It is eye contact that says you are here, not somewhere else. It is a voice that slows down and chooses softer words. It is the tiny joke that makes both of you breathe. Then the honesty comes clean. Here is what happened. Here is the impact. Here is how I will make it right. The charm opens the door. The honesty keeps you inside. Think of the barista who remembers your name after an error on your order. Think of the manager who starts a hard conversation by recognizing your effort before addressing the miss. Think of the friend who says, "I can see I hurt you," before explaining their side. In each case, charm arrives first, and forgiveness follows more quickly, because connection is already present. There is a line, though. Charm without follow-through is manipulation, and people can smell it. The rule works once or twice without substance, then collapses. You cannot wink your way through broken promises. Use charm to honour the person, not to escape the consequence. Say less, mean more, and do what you said. Make amends in visible ways. Over time, honesty builds the house. Charm keeps the lights warm. If you want a simple rhythm, try this. Soften, own, repair. Soften with warmth that acknowledges their experience. Own the truth without excuses. Repair with a clear action, then actually do it. You will notice doors stay open. You will watch frowns loosen. And when the stakes rise, your history of charm plus honesty becomes a reputation that buys you grace. Remember, people decide how they feel about you before they decide what they think about you. Lead with charm, land with honesty, leave with trust. Invisible looks harmless until it leaves the room. That is the quiet math of the replaceable until you are not ruled. When you are present, your work becomes air. People breathe it in without noticing. The calendar that runs on time. The client who never escalates. The report that never has errors. It is all obvious until you are gone and the air turns heavy. I once watched a team wave off a colleague's exit like it was a light breeze. They said, "We will be fine." 2 weeks later, keyboards were louder, meetings ran long, and a small fire broke out in every inbox. Nothing catastrophic, just friction everywhere. That is how impact usually shows up, not as a headline, but as 1,000 small squeaks you used to oil without applause. Here is the twist. This rule is not cruel. It is a mirror. Systems are designed to survive. Any one person is, by definition, replaceable. The mistake is believing that means your value is small. Your value is often quiet, and quiet value is easy to miss until silence turns into noise. So what do you do with that? First, name your work. If you solve a problem weekly, write it down. If you carry context in your head, turn it into a checklist. Make the invisible visible, not to hoard power, but to show reality. Second, teach. When you share how you do what you do, you are not making yourself disposable. You are making your impact measurable. Teaching proves there is more to you than a single task. It shows you can build, not just execute. Third, build your leverage outside the room. Relationships, reputation, and rare skills are a triangle no vacancy can ignore. When people can point to your voice, your judgment, and your pattern recognition, you stop being a replaceable pair of hands and become a force that changes outcomes. Even if they try to forget, the results have a way of remembering you. Also, protect your energy. If being taken for granted becomes the norm, adjust the norm. Set boundaries that make your contribution clear. When every yes is invisible, start saying fewer yeses. Let the silence teach. It will. In the end, aim for this paradox. Make it easy for them to function when you leave, and make it obvious they will miss you anyway. That is professional grace and personal strategy. You are replaceable to a system because systems have to keep moving. You are not replaceable to the people who learn, grow, and breathe easier because you were there. If they only learn that on your last day, so be it, but you do not have to wait to learn it yourself. Be the person who documents, teaches, and elevates. Then, if you exit, they will scramble with respect, not surprise. Replaceable by design, not by mistake, and never to yourself. Sometimes the heart does not fall in one thunderclap. It drifts closer, step by easy step. You pass someone in the hallway, you trade a small smile at the coffee machine, you share a joke about the weather, and something soft begins to grow. There is a quiet rule at play here, one most people feel without naming it. Familiarity breeds attraction. The more our lives brush against someone else's, the more our guard relaxes. We stop scanning for danger and start noticing the little things that make them human. The way they lean forward when listening, the laugh that shows up half a beat late, the kindness they offer when no one is watching. Repeated contact turns a stranger into a character in your story. It makes the unknown familiar, and familiar feels safe. Safety makes room for warmth. So much of attraction is not fireworks. It is repetition with a gentle glow. You show up, and that becomes its own signal. I am reliable. I am here. Consistency is magnetic because it quiets worry. When your nervous system is not busy guessing, it can be busy liking. This is why the co-worker you barely noticed in the first week starts to shine by week 3. Why a neighbour's wave begins to feel like a little anchor in your day. Why the barista who remembers your order seems more charming over time. But there is an art to using this rule well. Presence should never be pressure. Show up without crowding. Engage without expecting. Give the small nod, the warm hello, The brief conversation that ends before it overstays. Curiosity should be genuine and slow, not a strategy. Attraction built on repetition is strongest when you let it breathe. Familiarity does not create chemistry out of nothing. It reveals it. If the fit is wrong, more exposure will show that too. So be willing to notice what you learn alongside what you feel. If you are digital, the rule still works. Appear in the same circles. Comment thoughtfully, not constantly. Keep the same photo long enough to be recognizable. The goal is not to hack emotions. It is to be a steady presence that lets someone's comfort grow naturally. If you want to plant this seed in your own life, choose one shared space and be there regularly. Bring your real self. Wear the same gentle warmth each time. Let time do what time does best. Soften edges. Stitch small moments together and turn a series of little hellos into a quiet, honest pull. That is the unspoken power of being around again and again without forcing a single thing. Smart rarely shouts. It edits. The saying less sounds smarter rule is simple. When everyone else is cramming the air with words, the person who can stop, choose, and land a clean line feels 10 times more credible. Silence is not a gap to fill. It is punctuation. Try this in a meeting. Instead of a wandering preface, take a breath and lead with your headline. Here is my take. Pause, then one sentence of proof. Then stop. No apology, no tour of side streets. People remember the line that lands, not the paragraph that meanders. Silence makes your words heavier. When you drop a point and hold the pause, others lean in to carry it. When you rush to fill the pause, you carry the weight alone. Counting a slow 1, 2 in your head after you finish can be enough to keep your mouth from chasing your own sentence. Short words help. Swap, actually, basically. And kind of for crisp verbs. Swap, I believe that. For, I think, and when possible, just say the thing without a cushion. Fewer qualifiers. Firmer spine. Notice how these feel different. We should probably consider delaying because I feel like the risks might be bigger than we thought. Versus, we should delay. The risks are bigger than the reward. The second sounds decisive, not because it is harsh, but because it is clear. Questions are a cheat code. One short question does more than 5 long statements. What problem are we solving? What does success look like? What is the smallest step? Ask, then let the pause do the heavy lifting. You will look composed and you will get better information. When you do not know, say so cleanly. I do not know yet. I will get back to you by tomorrow. That is smarter than a fountain of half answers. Precision beats performance. In tough conversations, use the rule to cut heat. You might be right. Tell me more, then listen. Fewer words, more control. The goal is not to win with volume. It is to steer with clarity. If you ramble when nervous, script a 1-sentence version first. Headline, proof, stop. Or use 3 beats. Claim because ask. For example, I recommend we keep the budget flat because the return is uncertain. Do you want options for a lean test? Say it, then end it. Ending cleanly signals confidence. You do not need to be louder to sound smarter. You need to be cleaner. Give your ideas room. Choose the line. Land it. Let the silence work for you. The room gets warmer when truth walks in, but applause is reserved for reassurance. That is the unposted sign on most doors. Please tell me I'm fine. We say we want honesty, yet our shoulders relax only when someone says, "You're doing great. Keep going. Nothing needs to change." Think about the friend who asks, "What do you think of this idea?" You hear the gaps, the risks, the parts they have not thought through. Do they want your analysis? or do they want your faith? In most moments, people are not asking for truth. They are asking for relief from uncertainty. Truth threatens the plan. Reassurance protects the mood. This is the truth isn't wanted rule. Not because people are weak, but because fear is loud. When insecurity rises, the nervous system begs for comfort, not correction. We reach for certainty the way a hand reaches for a railing in the dark. Reassurance is that railing. It steadies the moment, even if the staircase still turns. So what do you do? First, listen for the ask beneath the ask. Is this a plea for safety or a search for clarity? You can find out by offering a gentle fork in the road. Do you want comfort or candor? Most people will choose comfort. Sometimes you should give it. There is mercy in saying, you are not crazy, you are not alone, you are not failing. This helps the body breathe again. But reassurance is a blanket, not a map. If you always cover someone, they never learn the shape of the terrain. Truth, delivered well, is not cruelty. It is a flashlight. The trick is timing and touch. When trust is low and emotions are hot, truth burns. When trust is steady and the room is calm, truth warms. Ask permission. Offer context. Lead with what is working. Then, stitch in the challenge without tearing the person. Speak to behaviors, not identity. Say, this part can be stronger rather than you are not good enough. You can even layer it. Start with reassurance that stabilizes, then add a clear, specific next step. You are on track, and there is one place to tighten. Here. People do not hate truth. They hate humiliation and hopelessness. Cut those out, and honesty becomes bearable. Also, be brave enough to hear hard truth yourself. Signal the kind you want. Say, I need clarity more than comfort right now. When you make that request, you grant others permission to put down the sugar and hand you the compass. The rule is simple. Most ears crave reassurance first, but most lives are improved by truth eventually. Offer both with care. Give the hug that steadies the heart, then point to the path that moves the feet. Some fights are ghost stories. The thing you can point to isn't the thing haunting the room. You argue about the dishes, the calendar, the tone of a text, but the rule running underneath is simple. Most arguments aren't about the thing. They're about an unmet need. Respect, safety, control, appreciation, wearing the costume of whatever is closest at hand. Picture the classic kitchen standoff. You never wash the dishes. I just did them. On the surface, it's soap and sponges. Underneath, it's I feel invisible. When you rush to proof and counterproof, you miss the signal flare. The move here is to name the layer beneath. Try. I want to feel like I'm not carrying this alone. Then pause and mirror what's alive in the other person. You feel judged and overwhelmed. Mirror the feeling first. Fixes can wait. When people feel seen, problem solving gets easier, not harder. Take a work example. Two teammates spar over a deadline. One pushes for speed, the other for polish. The deeper worry isn't the due date, it's risk. One is afraid of public mistakes, the other of missed momentum. So you ask, what's the real risk you're watching out for? Then you offer a bridge. Let's ship a small version by Friday and block time next week to refine. You give safety and progress room to coexist. Psychologically, naming the need lowers defenses and builds trust, which opens the door to cooperation. People move when they feel heard. Or think about a friend who's late again. You could debate minutes and excuses, or you could say the quiet part. When you're late, I feel unimportant. That is the real conversation. You're not keeping score, you're revealing the scoreboard. Once the need is on the table, belonging, regard, reliability, you can negotiate honestly. You can say, I don't need perfection. I need a text and a realistic time. That is less dramatic than a blow-up and far more effective. Here's a simple way to work with the rule. First, slow the moment down by one breath. Second, listen for the need underneath the words, yours and theirs. Third, say it plainly, without a courtroom voice. Fourth, propose the smallest next step that meets both needs well enough. Not perfectly, well enough to restore connection. This isn't about letting bad behavior slide. It's about arguing at the right altitude. When the conversation rises to the level of needs, your options multiply. It feels less like tug of war and more like moving a couch together. Awkward, sure, but you're facing the same direction. Psychologically, that shift creates safety, and safety is the doorway to change. Most people enter disagreements imagining someone has to lose. The better rule says otherwise. Change the question from how do I win this point to what is this really about? And the room changes. The volume drops. The solutions appear. It's not about the dishes or the deadline or the lateness. It's about being seen, being safe, having a say, mattering. Name that, and you move from competition to connection. Your brain gives you a gold star for what you meant to do, while the world only sees what you actually did. That gap is where trust is built or broken. We judge ourselves by our intentions because we can feel them. We know the story in our head. Everyone else only gets the trailer, and the trailer is your actions. You meant to text back, but the message sits unsent. You meant to be on time, but you arrived late with a perfect reason. You meant to help, but you never followed through. Inside, you are generous, reliable, thoughtful. Outside, people are tallying what happened, not what almost happened. That is the rule. Flip it around. When someone else flakes, you see the missed call, the blank calendar, the plan that fell apart. You do not feel their busy week, their good heart, their intention to make it up later. You judge their actions. They judge yours. Fair or not, that is how humans keep score. So what do? Start by translating your good intentions into small, visible behaviors. If you mean to be the person who shows up, put a concrete stake in the ground. Confirm the time, the moment the plan is made. Set one reminder, not 5. Leave early, even if it feels silly. The visible part matters more than the elegant excuse. Narrate your intent when it helps, but do it briefly, then show the proof. A quick message that says, I am running late and I am on the way, followed by you actually arriving, lands better than a paragraph of context with no arrival. Explain less. Demonstrate more. People believe what you do next. When you fall short, close the loop fast. Own the miss without a defense. Make a specific repair and set the next action. I did not deliver on Friday. I will send the draft tonight. You will have the final by tomorrow morning. Then make that happen. A clean repair is an action too, and it rebuilds the bridge. Hold others to the same rule with grace. Look at patterns, not one-off moments. Ask for actions, not promises. If someone wants another chance, say yes and define what the next step looks like. Clarity turns intention into something you can both point to. And keep kindness for yourself. You will always know your own heart more than anyone else can. Use that knowledge as fuel, not as a free pass. Let your actions catch up to your intentions. Over time, the outside story and the inside story align, and people start to judge you the way you hope to be judged, because you made it true. The highlight reel skips the bloopers. The trophy sits on the shelf, but the dents in the armor tell the story. If you want the truth, Behind any win, here it is. You will fail more times than you will ever succeed, and that is not a glitch in the system. That is the system. People love the clean finish. They do not love the messy middle, but the messy middle is where the rule lives. You swing, you miss, you learn the wind, you adjust your grip, you swing again. The world applauds the single clean hit and forgets the 1,000 awkward practice cuts. Behind every bestseller are chapters that landed flat. Behind every perfectly timed joke are open mics where no one laughed. Behind every calm presentation are shaky rehearsals in an empty room, voice cracking, pacing offbeat, trying again. You do not need more confidence, you need more attempts. Confidence grows like calluses, from friction, not from theory. So make failure cheap and frequent. Take smaller swings more often. Ship something tiny today. Ask for the meeting. Send the draft. Miss the shot. Miss it again. Let your nervous system learn that missing is survivable. Set a daily failure quota, not a victory quota. Decide on a number of tries. When you hit it, you have won for the day, regardless of outcome. That is how you train consistency to outrun perfectionism. Results are lagging indicators. Attempts are leading indicators. Let attempts be your scoreboard. Redefine failure as data. If a door closes, you learned where it is not. If an idea flops, you learned what does not connect. If feedback stings, you learned where it hurts and how to strengthen that muscle. The point is not to like failing. The point is to turn failing into fuel. There is a rhythm to this rule. Prepare just enough to act. Act just enough to gather truth. Adjust just enough to act again. It is not reckless. It is iterative. The path is not a straight line. It is a spiral that looks like circles until you notice you are higher each time you pass the same spot. When success finally arrives, it will not feel like luck. It will feel like familiarity. You will recognize the door because you have knocked on every other one. You will recognize the shot because you have seen every miss. Most people stop because they misread silence as a verdict. Silence is not a verdict. It is a test of volume. Keep turning the dial. Fail more than you win. Not because failure is romantic, but because repetition is honest. Keep swinging. Keep missing. Keep learning. Then one day, the highlight reel has no choice but to include you. A quiet nod can drown out a clear truth. That is the included over right rule at work. When the moment turns tense, most people would rather be accepted than be accurate. The room hums with agreement, and your gut whispers that something is off, but acceptance is warm, and correctness can feel cold. Picture a team meeting. The rollout plan looks polished, the slide count climbs, and everyone is nodding. You spot a tiny mismatch in the dates that could snowball into a mess. Your mouth opens, then you glance around and notice that the manager seems relieved. The project lead is smiling, and the group energy says, "We want closure." You let the slide pass. Later, when it breaks, you say, "I thought so, but I did not want to be that person." Included over right. Or think about a friend group. Everyone laughs at a story that unfairly paints someone who is not there. You sense a twist missing, a context that would change the tone. You hold it in because the friendship feels fragile and the laughter feels binding. Again, the rule wins. This rule is not about cowardice. It is about biology and belonging. Being kept inside the circle kept our ancestors alive. The brain is still wired to treat disagreement like distance. So the pull you feel is not personal weakness. It is a very old reflex shaping a very modern moment. The skill is not to swing to the other extreme. The goal is not to be right and alone or included and wrong. The move is to thread the needle. Start by naming the signal in your body: the tight shoulders, the shallow breath, the urge to rush. That is the cue that the group's gravity is bending your judgment. Then buy time. Try "I might be off, but can we sanity check one piece?" Low ego, soft edges, clear intent. If the room is fast, slow it with process, not verdicts. Ask, what would change our mind on this? That question keeps you included while opening a door for accuracy to walk through. If you worry about status, recruit an ally ahead of time. Say, "If I flag a risk later, will you ask a follow-up so it is not just my voice?" When two people make room for truth, the cost of dissent drops for everyone. And when you lead, model it. Praise the person who challenges you in good faith. Protect the dissent you want to see. The included over right rule is the current. You do not beat a current with force. You work with it, angle into it, and let it carry you toward better shores. Belonging and truth are not enemies. Aim for both. Speak softly. Ask clearly. And let the group remember that acceptance is strongest when it makes space for what is real. A single spark from a story can glow long after the slides, the charts, and the bullet points fade. You might forget the exact percentage, but you remember the kid who spilled orange soda on his homework and learned to take responsibility. You might blank on a timeline, but you remember the nurse who held someone's hand in a hallway and rewrote what care means. That is the story's stick rule. Facts make sense, stories make meaning, and meaning is what memory keeps. Here is why. A story gives the brain a place to sit. It paints a room, places a chair, opens a window, and lets you feel the temperature. Facts alone are air. A story is the open window that lets the air move across your skin. When something becomes a scene, your mind starts to live there. You smell the coffee, you hear the footsteps, you feel the pause before the truth lands. And later, when everything else has blurred, you can still return to that room. If you want a message to last, give it a character, a desire, an obstacle, and a change. One person, one want, one wall, one shift. "I was late to a meeting" is a sentence. I sprinted past the bakery, smelled the warm bread, and realized I cared more about excuses than being the kind of person who shows up on time is a scene. Same truth, different stick. Use this wherever stakes exist. In a job interview, do not say you are a problem solver. Tell the moment you nearly lost a client, how your voice shook while you called them, and the exact thing you tried that kept the door open. In a team meeting, do not drown your idea in features. Tell the afternoon your user couldn't finish a task, and the look on their face that made you redesign. In an argument, tell the bedtime story of two people on the same side of the rope, pulling against the same heavy knot, and invite them to pull with you. Short helps. A story can be a single breath. Who, want, but so. "I wanted to quit running, but my friend was waiting at the corner, so I kept going." It is not epic, it is sticky. Specific details make it grip. Swap number lists for one vivid thing: the chipped blue mug, the elevator that stalled, the laugh that turned into a cough. Keep the language plain and the verbs alive. Say the fact, then wrap it in a moment. If it matters, narrate it. Tell it like you were there, because you were. Tonight, trade an update for a story. Watch how heads lift, how shoulders lean, how your words stop being noise and start being a place people return to tomorrow and the day after that. That is when you know it worked. That is when it sticks. A small social magic trick hides in plain sight. The same mistake wrapped in warmth gets a pass, while the same truth delivered like a hammer earns a dent. That is the forgiven faster rule. Charm shortens the distance to mercy, and blunt honesty often stretches it. Think about a familiar scene. Two co-workers, same office, same deadline slips. Mia owns it with a soft sigh, a steady tone, a quick plan to fix it, and a grateful thank you for the team's patience. People nod. They even offer help. Daniel, who never misses the truth, points out the missed handoff in plain language and says exactly what went wrong. He is right. He is also resented. One misstep is treated like a human moment, the other like an attack. The difference is not truth or lies. It is the feeling their words produce. Our brains forgive what feels safe. Charm lowers the guardrail. It tells the nervous system, no threat here. Blunt honesty, even when pure, can trip alarms. Not because the facts are wrong, but because the delivery says, prepare to defend. We hear a tone before we hear a sentence. We react to a face before we pass a clause. Likeability becomes a lens, and once it is warm, everything looks softer. So how do you keep the spine of honesty without the bruises of bluntness? Start by caring about the person more than the point. Let your voice arrive before your verdict. Pause, breathe, name something you value in them or the situation. Ask for a window, not a stage. Can I run a quick thought by you? Own your part in the mess, even if it is only one small piece. Use verbs that open instead of slam. Instead of you failed, try the handoff slipped, and I think we can tighten it here. Swap labels for behaviors. Not you are careless, but the file was missing 3 pages. Aim the spotlight at the path forward. End with I am in this with you. When you mess up, repair first, reason second. I see how that landed. I get why that hurt. Then I am sorry. Here is what I will do next. Notice the weight shift. Less defense, more responsibility. People forgive faster when you take the work of soothing off their shoulders. Charm is not pretending. It is packaging truth in care so it can be received. It is polishing the mirror, not repainting the picture. If you fear this is manipulation, flip it. Would you rather be told a hard thing in a way that protects your dignity? That is the ethical use of the rule. Use it today. Keep the facts. Soften the edges. Make the truth easy to hug. You will still be honest. You will just be forgiven faster. The career ladder does not climb in a straight line. It moves like an escalator that appears every so often, and the people standing closest to it ride up. That is the quiet math behind promotions and raises. Merit matters, absolutely. Skill keeps you on the field, but timing is the clock that decides when the game-winning pass can be thrown. Think about the last person who jumped a level. They were good, yes, but they also happened to be holding the keys when a bigger door swung open. A senior teammate left. A new project got greenlit. The budget window opened for a brief moment. They were visible at the exact time decisions were made. Meanwhile, someone equally capable was heads down, missing the meeting where their name could have been spoken. You cannot control the calendar, but you can learn its seasons. Companies make compensation decisions around planning cycles. Leaders lock in headcount before big initiatives. Teams pick leads right before a kickoff, not after. If you bring up your value when funds are frozen, you are right in principle and late in practice. Shift the when. Aim your asks before planning, right after a measurable win, or just as a vacancy appears. Timing your conversation to a decision point turns a request into an answer to a problem. Keep a ready case file on yourself so you never scramble when the window opens. Collect proof as you go. Outcomes, client quotes, metrics, written in words, not spreadsheets. Share progress in small, steady ways so your work is easy to remember when names are being listed. Make it simple for a manager to say yes by showing them the gap you fill and the risk you remove. Create your own timing by leaning into moments of mess. Volunteer when something is urgent, cross-functional or vaguely defined. Those are the spots where new roles are born. Be in the rooms where strategy is discussed, even if you enter as the note-taker. Proximity is not glory, but proximity is timing. Listen for phrases like "not yet," "after the quarter," "once we land this customer." Those are not rejections, they are calendars. Respond with clarity and a date. Great, I will circle back 1 week after we close that milestone. Then actually circle back. Reliability turns not now into now. Prepare a successor. Promotions often stall because leaders do not know who will take your place. Train and document like you are leaving tomorrow. You are not making yourself replaceable. You are making your ascent possible. And if your timing is trapped by a stagnant team, change the stage. A new manager, a growing product, a different market can reset the clock in your favor. Merit builds your value. Timing cashes it out. Stand near the escalator. Know the schedule. When it arrives, step on without an apology. A locked door makes a hallway feel important. That is your brain on scarcity, and it happens faster than you can blink. One sold-out tag, one last chance banner, one limited drop, and suddenly the ordinary turns magnetic. Scarcity does not just raise prices. It raises pulse rates and stories we tell ourselves about worth. Think about the time you almost bought something you had never considered, simply because there were only a few left. You pictured the moment after the moment, where everyone else had it and you did not, and that picture felt louder than logic. That is the scarcity creates value rule at work. When access shrinks, desire swells, and your mind confuses urgency with importance. Marketers understand this, but so do toddlers with toy trucks. Take it away, and it becomes the crown jewel of the living room. Adults do a fancier version. A sneaker drop with a tight window turns rubber and fabric into a mini legend. A ticket that would have been a maybe becomes a must when the timer starts counting down. We are not weak. We are wired to avoid losing chances more than we are to gain things we might enjoy. Here is the twist. Scarcity can reveal value. A rare painting is rare for a reason. Your time is precious because it is finite, but scarcity can also fake value. A limited edition label slapped onto mediocrity does not make it magnificent. So your job is to separate real scarcity from staged scarcity. Use a simple pause. When you feel the rush, step away for a short breath. Ask yourself 3 quick questions. Would I want this just as much if it were everywhere? What exactly am I afraid of missing? Will this still matter after I sleep on it? If the answer stays strong tomorrow, it might be real value. If the spell fades, it was just glitter on air. You can also flip the rule to your advantage. Protect your attention so it stays rare and powerful. Say no more often so your yes means something. Ship fewer things, but make them unmistakably yours, and watch how the world leans in. Hold office hours instead of being endlessly reachable, and people will respect the window you give them. Even in your closet or your calendar, a smaller, sharper set of choices makes each one feel worthy. When everything is available all the time, nothing feels special. The truth is simple. Scarcity is a spotlight. It can illuminate the gold, or it can dress up cardboard. Before you chase what is almost gone, decide whether the thing is good or just scarce. And when you want your work, your time, and your promises to carry weight, make them deliberate, protected, and a little hard to get. Let scarcity serve value, not pretend to be it. The crowd always whispers a promise. Stay with us and you'll be safe. The group laughs, nods, moves, and suddenly it doesn't just have an opinion, it has gravity. Here's the rule most people follow without noticing. Groups decide what's normal long before reality does. Call it the group acceptance rule. If enough people act like something is true, it starts feeling true. Naming the rule early matters because it gives you a map for what you're about to feel when a crowd leans one way. It looks like this in everyday life. You're in a meeting. A plan slides onto the screen with shiny charts and a silent floor. The first person says, "Looks solid." Heads bob. You sense the floor, but the nodding fills the room like fog. You nod too. Later, when the deadline misses and the cost rises, everyone wonders how no one spoke up. For example, stories like this make the point land, because you can see the moment your body wanted the group more than the truth. Why does this happen? Psychologically, belonging feels like safety, and uncertainty feels like danger. In a fog of uncertainty, the brain borrows certainty from the group. That's social proof in action. It's not that you are weak, it's that your wiring keeps you alive by saying, "Follow the firelight." The problem is that sometimes the firelight is just a spotlight, not truth but consensus, not reality but repetition. Adding a simple explanation like this helps the lesson sink in and stick. So how do you break the spell without becoming the outcast? Start by naming the pull. You can even say it aloud, gently. I hear a lot of agreement, and that makes it hard to see what we might be missing. Naming the current is like stepping onto solid ground. It lowers the emotional resistance in the room and makes real thinking possible. Then ask one clean question. Not a speech disguised as a question. A clean one. What would make this plan fail? Or what assumption would we bet our jobs on here? A single question punctures the illusion of inevitability. Borrow a second opinion from outside the circle. Text a colleague who isn't in the meeting. Peek at data from a different team. Invite the view that hasn't been marinating in the same source. Find a small ally first. Before the meeting, share the concern with one person you trust. It is easier to stand when you are already two. Be the first to model gentle dissent. Not a takedown, a test. I might be missing something, but here's the risk I see. The room hears permission in your tone. The quiet truth is this: what we accept becomes what we repeat. And what we repeat becomes what we believe. The group acceptance rule is real, but it isn't final. You don't have to fight the group. You can guide it. Define a better normal, one small sentence at a time. There is a kind of pain that feels permanent only because you never stop touching it. That is the pain of staying too long. The rule is simple. Quitting hurts less than staying, not because quitting is painless, but because staying keeps the wound open. You know the feeling, the job that drains you, the relationship that turns your voice into a whisper, the project that no longer fits the person you have become. You wait for a sign. You invent one more reason to endure. You tell yourself the right week will show up, the right mood, the right number in your bank account, the right words from someone who never seems to say them. Meanwhile, every day becomes a tiny act of self-betrayal. Staying is the slow ache. It is the extra tension in your jaw, the energy you never get back, the jokes you make to pretend you are fine. It is the way your body knows you are lying before your mind admits it. Quitting is the sharp sting. It is the honest moment where you say, "This is not it," The sting fades, the slow ache becomes your life. We confuse endurance with loyalty, and loyalty with virtue, but loyalty without reciprocity is erosion. Endurance without hope is just waiting. You are not a tree. You can move. The fear is real. Loss of identity, sunk costs, the imagined chorus of critics. Here is the secret. Those costs already happened. You already paid with time, attention, and pieces of yourself. Quitting does not waste the past. It respects it by refusing to waste the future. You do not have to burn bridges to cross them. You can quit kindly. Start with clarity. Say out loud what you have been whispering. This no longer works for me. Picture your life 90 days from now if you stay. Then picture it if you leave. Notice where your shoulders drop. That is your compass. Give yourself permission to take one small exit action today. One conversation, one email, one box packed, one calendar block for interviews, one walk instead of a meeting you do not need. Momentum is mercy. Some endings are loud, some are quiet. Both count. The people who truly care about you do not only want your presence, they want your aliveness. If something asks you to trade your aliveness for its continuation, the asking is your answer. You are allowed to outgrow a story. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to leave. Let the dull noise fade. Feel the quick sting. Then feel the room inside you return. That is not quitting in the way you were taught. That is caretaking the person you must live with for the rest of your life. Your eyes shake hands before your words do. In the first few seconds with someone, your gaze tells them if you are safe, present, and worth listening to. That is why the trust in eye contact rule matters. A few steady seconds can build a bridge, and the wrong kind of stare can set it on fire. Here is the rhythm. Meet, hold, release, repeat. When you meet someone, lift your eyes calmly and find theirs. Hold for about a gentle 3 count. Let your face relax, soften your brow, and breathe. Then release your gaze for a moment. Glance to the side or down slightly before returning. This quiet cycle says, I am with you, without pushing. It feels natural because it is how we look at people we are already comfortable with. If they seem nervous, ease the intensity. Use the triangle. One eye, the other eye, the mouth, then back to the eyes. It keeps your focus warm without pinning them. If they glance away, do not chase their eyes. Wait. Give space. When they return, meet them again for those small, honest seconds. Trust grows in that back and forth. Your face delivers the same message your eyes do. Pair the hold with a small nod and a real half smile that reaches the eyes. Keep your chin level and your shoulders loose. Blink normally. Rapid blinking, a frozen face or a lifted chin, changes the signal from steady to suspicious. Your body should say, there is no rush, I am listening. When the moment is heavy, sharing bad news, apologizing or asking for help, stretch the hold a bit longer, but not into a stare. Think 4 or maybe 5 calm seconds, then release. Speak on the release. It lets your words land without the pressure of your eyes pressing on theirs. If you overshoot and it feels awkward, reset. Look away briefly, exhale, and come back with their name. Names soften edges. So does a micro nod. The aim is presence, not performance. Context still matters. In some settings, direct gaze means respect. In others, it can feel like a challenge. Notice their comfort level and mirror the intensity, just a touch warmer than theirs. That tiny lead invites trust without forcing it. Practice everywhere. When you order coffee, meet the barista's eyes for that easy 3 count. On a call, look at the small camera dot as if it is their left eye. With friends, listen on the hold and speak on the release. Feel how the space after the release pulls people toward you. Remember the rule: meet, hold, release, repeat. A few sincere seconds are enough. Do that, and your eyes will do what your words alone never can. They will make people feel safe with you. And safety is where trust begins. Gravity is not just for apples. It pulls on our choices too. When there are two options, most of us slide toward the one that takes less effort, less thought, less friction. That is the path of least resistance. It is the reason an escalator stays crowded while the stairs echo. The reason a subscription renews because the cancel button is buried. The reason a snack at eye level keeps vanishing while the healthy stuff hides behind it. We are not lazy, we are efficient. Our brains save energy by following grooves that are already carved. The trick is that those grooves are not fixed in stone. You can shape them. If you want to do more of something, remove steps between you and the first action. If you want to do less of something, add steps that slow you down long enough to decide. Put the book you want to read on the pillow in the morning, so it is impossible to ignore at night. Lay out shoes and keys by the door, and your future self will drift into the workout without a debate. Pre-cut fruit on Sunday and weekday. You will eat it because it greets you first. Put a dumbbell next to the kettle, so while water warms, you curl without thinking. That is not willpower. That is architecture. The same rule works in reverse. Make distractions heavier. Log out of the site that steals your focus. Move the app to a folder inside a folder. Turn your phone to grayscale and park the charger in another room. Put cookies on the top shelf behind something annoying to move. You are not denying yourself. You are buying a few seconds to wake up the part of your brain that can choose. Defaults are powerful rivers. Auto-transfer a small amount into savings, so the easiest thing is to get richer slowly. Put recurring calendar blocks for the things you always mean to do but never schedule. A walk, a call to someone who matters, a weekly tidy. Decision fatigue is not a character flaw, it is a cost of too many tiny tolls. Remove tolls you want to pass. Add tolls where you want to pause. Beware the quiet price of easy. The shortest path right now can be the longest detour later. Fast food is easy today and heavy tomorrow. Doom scrolling is easy now and empty later. So let the path of least resistance carry you toward what you care about by bending the ground beneath your feet. Tonight, change two things. Make one good action the obvious, effortless next step, and make one draining habit just a little less convenient. Tomorrow, you will not need a pep talk. You will simply take the easiest path, the one you designed. Wet paint signs stick to doors. Labels stick to people. Once a room decides who you are, that decision travels ahead of you like a whisper that arrives before you do. That is the reputation sticks rule. The first clear story others tell about you becomes the headline they keep reading, even when the article has changed. Think about the co-worker who, on his first week, hit reply all and flooded the whole company. Years later, he answered emails flawlessly, but the nickname lingered. Or the friend who was late twice, then became the one who is always late, even when she started showing up early. Our brains are efficient. We compress people into shortcuts. We need a quick way to know who is safe, useful, kind, or careless, so we pick a simple story and keep it. If that is how it works, play on purpose. Choose your headline. Maybe it is reliable, generous, curious, or calm under pressure. Then craft the moments that make it true. Headlines are written in micro moments, not big speeches. Arrive 5 minutes early. Say names and remember details. If you make a promise, write it down and follow up before anyone asks. Consistency beats intensity. One thoughtful action each week compounds faster than a dramatic gesture every few months. When you have to fix a sticky label, do it in the open. First, own it in one honest sentence without drama. No long excuses. Second, overcorrect in a visible way. If you were late, be early again and again and let someone notice. Third, recruit witnesses. A reputation changes faster when people can say, "I saw it." Replace the old story with new proof repeatedly until the echo fades. A simple line helps. "That used to be me. Here is what I do now." Then do it. Treat every room like a chain of rooms. In the first room, strangers make the headline. In the second room, acquaintances repeat it. In the third room, believers defend it for you. The same word moves from room to room, gathering speed. Give them a word worth repeating. Guard what sticks in digital spaces too. Your quiet actions, the ones without announcements, are the loudest over time. The kind email when nobody is watching, the patient answer, the refusal to gossip, these are reputation glue. People may not quote you, but they will file you under a word. Pick one word for yourself tonight. Pick 2 small behaviors that prove it. Repeat them for 8 weeks. When someone says, "You know them," they are the one who, let what follows be the story you wrote on purpose. Because reputation is not a costume, it is a residue. Leave the kind that lasts. There is a quiet click in your brain when something feels familiar, a street you have walked 100 times, a song you did not like at first, then caught yourself humming, the same mug you reach for even when a shinier one sits beside it. That click is the comfort in familiar rule. The more something shows up in your world, the safer it feels, and the more you warm to it. Think about faces. Strangers at first, then friendly once you see them again and again, or tastes. The first sip of black coffee might feel harsh, but after a week of mornings, the bitterness turns into a ritual. This is not about settling for less. It is about your brain's love for patterns it can predict. Once it recognizes the beats, the music of life gets easier to dance to. Use this rule on purpose. If a new habit feels awkward, do not make it grand. Pair the new with the known. Read at the same chair, at the same time, with the same cozy sweater. Keep 9 parts familiar and slip in one small change. Your brain sees the anchored pieces and relaxes enough to accept the new part. Do it again tomorrow. Familiarity grows like rings on a tree. Thin at first, then stronger with each pass. Want to be more likable without pretending. Become a regular presence. Show up in a steady rhythm. Say a person's name. Repeat the core of your message. Keep your style consistent and let people learn your shape. Callbacks help too. A phrase they have heard before becomes a bridge back to comfort, and they will cross it willingly. To reduce nerves, rehearse in the setting you fear. Visit the room, touch the chair, speak a few lines to the empty space. Bring one familiar object, a pen or bracelet. Let your senses mark the scene as known. When the moment comes, your body will whisper, "We have been here." Creativity lives here, not just comfort. New ideas land better when they stand on familiar ground. Keep the rhythm the same and change the melody. Tell a fresh story with a known pattern. People lean in because they are not lost. There are gentle warnings. Familiar does not mean true or best or right. You can grow fond of a bad habit simply because it sits beside you every day. And too much comfort turns stale. Stretch in small steps, expand the circle, then make that new edge familiar too. The rule is simple. Repeat what matters, pair new with known, and let time do its soft work. Make comfort your ally, not your prison. Build a life that feels recognizable and still invites you forward. Grip something too tightly and it slips. That's how deals fall apart. Dates turn awkward and opportunities suddenly vanish. The paradox is simple. The more desperately you chase a result, the more it runs. The rule underneath is this: power goes to the detached. The person who can walk away sets the terms, the tone, and often the outcome. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It says, I want this, but I don't need it at any cost. That state changes everything. People feel it in your voice, your timing, your willingness to pause. Pressure softens. Options appear. Picture a car lot. One buyer arrives mentally sold, clinging to the exact model, the exact colour today. Every counteroffer stings, and the salesperson can feel the urgency. The price barely moves. Now picture another buyer, same interest, different posture. They say, this colour isn't quite right, and I'm not in a rush. They stand, ready to leave. Suddenly the energy flips. Extras appear. Numbers get better. The difference wasn't charm. It was the freedom to walk. Or imagine a relationship boundary. You say, I like you, and I also value consistency. If that's hard right now, I respect it. I'll match your pace. You stop over-explaining. You stop pleading. The point isn't to manipulate. It's to be honest about your standard and willing to be alone rather than betray it. The room gets calmer. The other person has space to choose you. Psychologically, removing pressure lowers defenses and creates safety. People relax when they don't feel pushed, and they tend to move toward what feels open and steady. In work, the same pattern shows up. Interviewing with options makes your voice slower, your answers cleaner. You negotiate from preference, not panic. Counterintuitively, that makes you easier to say yes to. When someone senses autonomy on both sides, cooperation rises. The conversation shifts from competition to connection. Detachment isn't a performance. It's built before the moment. You decide your floor, the lowest salary you'll accept, the behavior you won't tolerate, the hours you won't trade away. You expand your options, more applications, more outreach, more paths to the same destination, and you rehearse the line said calmly, I'm going to pass, but thank you. That sentence is a quiet superpower. It reminds you that your worth doesn't sit in the other person's hands. Will you sometimes lose the thing you wanted? Yes. But you won't lose yourself getting it. And the odd magic is that when you stop bargaining with your self-respect, better fits find you. Less chasing, more choosing. So loosen the grip. Let outcomes come toward an open palm. The moment you can walk away, you stop walking in circles. Power goes to the detached. The first no is a locked door with a key taped to the frame. Most people hear the word and walk away. The unspoken rule is simpler. The first no is often a test, not the truth. It asks, do you know what you want? Can you explain it clearly? And will you keep your composure when faced with friction? Think about the moments that matter. A manager says resources are tight. A client says the budget is gone. A stranger says they are not interested. In many cases, the no is a quick reflex, a shield against noise, risk, and the unknown. If you vanish at the first pushback, you confirm their doubt. If you lean in with clarity and calm, you invite a real conversation. Start by slowing the moment down. Breathe. Acknowledge the no without arguing. Try a simple line. I hear you. What would make this a yes? Or under what conditions would this work? You are not fighting the person. You are surfacing the criteria. When you find the criteria, you find the levers. Sometimes the ask is just too big. Shrink it. Replace the full commitment with a small step, a trial, or a pilot. Sometimes the frame is off. Reframe it around their outcomes, not your needs. Sometimes the risk feels unilateral. Share the risk. Trade something. Offer a guarantee or remove a hassle. Sometimes the trust is thin. Add proof, a quick win, or a credible reference. And sometimes the timing is wrong. Then the play is not now, but not yet. Ask for the window when a yes would be possible and set a specific follow-up. Real people use this every day. A sales rep hears "not interested" and replies, "totally fair," before I step away. Which part feels off so I do not keep chasing the wrong thing? A teammate pitches an idea, gets pushback, and asks, "If I show this reduces your workload by even a small margin, could we test it for a week?" A landlord says no pets, and the tenant says, "Understood. If I increase the deposit and show references from past leases, would you consider an exception?" None of these lines are tricks. They are bridges to the real conversation. The first "no" contains data. Ask for it. The more you uncover, the more you can adjust the path. And if the answer truly is no, you will know it by the presence of clear, immovable constraints, not a reflexive brush-off. Make this a habit in low-stakes places. Negotiate a deadline. Ask for a quieter table. Request feedback that is blunt and useful. Each time you meet the first no with curiosity and specific next steps, you train life to move. The door groans. The key was there all along. 2 seconds can feel like an eternity when two eyes finally meet. You know that moment? Part electric, part awkward, like your attention is saying hello before your words do. We overcorrect. We stare and come off intense, or we look away too fast and seem unsure. The quiet skill is learning the rhythm. Here is the rule of eye contact. Connect, soften, release. Not a hard stare, not a quick flinch. Think of it like throwing a ball and catching it, then tossing it back. Your gaze lands, it relaxes, then it gives space and returns. Picture a friend venting over coffee. They say, "Work's been brutal." You lift your eyes to meet theirs. Hold just long enough for a heartbeat. Your face softens. You nod. Then you glance to the side for a breath and come back. You're not scanning the room. You're signaling, "I'm with you." Psychologically, this kind of presence creates a sense of safety. People lower their defenses when they feel you're truly there with them. And when someone feels seen and understood, they become more open, more willing to keep talking, and more receptive to what comes next. Try the same rhythm in a meeting. Your manager asks a question. Let your eyes meet theirs while you begin your answer. Then look briefly at your notes or the table and return for the point that matters. The release prevents your gaze from turning into pressure. The return says, "I mean this." It's attention, not inspection. On a date, playful counts. Dwell for a moment when they laugh. Break eye contact to take a sip or look at the plate, then re-engage with a smile. That dance keeps the energy alive without overwhelming either of you. If you feel your eyes hardening, soften the muscles around them and let your eyebrows relax. Connection lives in warmth, not in intensity. One more subtlety: match pace. If someone is shy and checks away often, dial down how long you hold. If they're steady and comfortable, you can linger a beat longer. You're not mirroring every move, you're syncing enough to feel easy together. Psychologically, that small adjustment helps people feel respected, which invites trust and cooperation. This is the unspoken etiquette behind eye contact. Not constant, but consistent. Not a spotlight, but a bridge. If you forget everything else, remember the 3-beat rhythm. Connect, soften, release. Let your gaze say what your mouth sometimes can't. I'm here with you. When you do, conversations breathe, tension melts, and the person in front of you feels what we all want to feel, noticed without being judged and understood without being pushed. That is the rule of eye contact. Not to impress, to connect. Silence builds thrones. Not because quiet people are timid, but because they leave space that invites truth to walk in. The rule is simple. Speak last. It is not polite hesitation. It is a strategy that turns noise into knowledge. When you talk first, you anchor the room. People lean toward your idea, even if it is half-baked, just because it was planted first. That robs you of the one thing you cannot buy later, the unfiltered opinions of everyone else. Speaking last flips the script. You become the collector, not the broadcaster. You trade early certainty for better accuracy. Picture a meeting where the senior person opens with a strong take. Watch heads nod. Watch riskier thoughts die quietly. Now picture a leader who opens with a question, then takes notes, then asks for the quietest voice in the room. Only at the end does that leader speak, weaving the best of what they heard. The first leader gets compliance. The second leader earns commitment. Speaking last is not passive. It is active listening with guardrails. Before you walk into the room, write down your own view. Park it. Start the conversation with what other people see, not what you want them to see. Ask them what would make the plan fail. Ask what you are missing. When you feel the urge to jump in, count a slow breath and hold your tongue. Let silence do the heavy lifting. People will fill it with the details you need. The rule works outside the office too. At dinner, let family members go first on a tough decision. With friends planning a trip, resist the urge to announce your favourite destination. Let the group map the options, the budgets, the hidden plans. When you speak last, you can connect dots that were invisible a few minutes earlier. You move from pushing to aligning. If you worry that waiting makes you look uncertain, remember this: you are not delaying to hide, you are delaying to refine. Curiosity is not a lack of confidence, it is the foundation of it. You are saying, I trust this room to help me see more. Close, strong. Summarize what you heard in plain language. Credit people by name. Make the decision or propose the next step. When you finally share your view, it will land on ground everyone prepared together. That is how you get buy-in without begging for it. Speak last does not mean stay silent forever. It means hold your voice long enough for everyone else to find theirs. Power that listens is power that lasts. Let others go first, then speak with the weight of everything they gave you. Names are tiny doorbells. When you ring them, people open up. That is the rule of first names. Use them to invite closeness, not to demand it. The simplest move is to mirror. If someone introduces themselves as Patricia, not Patty, meet them at Patricia. If their email signature says Sam, not Samuel, meet them at Sam. When they say, call me Maria, that is the green light. If there is no invitation, let context be your compass. In rooms with a clear hierarchy, like a doctor's office, a courtroom, or the first meeting with a new boss, start with a title and a last name. If they pivot to first names, follow their lead and keep it there. The first name is a handshake you can give without touching. Use it to anchor a moment. Say it at the start when you greet, and at the end when you part, and sparingly in the middle when it matters. Too much, and it starts to feel like seasoning dumped on a dish. Just enough, and the person feels seen. A first name can calm a tense exchange, reassure a nervous client, or turn a brief chat into a real conversation. It says, I am with you, not just talking at you, but there are tripwires. Do not shorten someone's name unless they shorten it first. Nicknames are earned, not assigned. Do not guess at pronunciation and plough ahead. If you are unsure, ask respectfully, then repeat it back with care. Getting it right is a small kindness that lands like a big one. Be mindful of culture. Some places and families hold formal address as a sign of respect, and skipping straight to a first name can feel like walking into a house without knocking. When in doubt, begin formal and step down. It is easier to relax a boundary than to repair one. Beware the salesy overuse. We have all felt the cringe of our name getting sprinkled into every sentence like a trick. People can feel when their name is being used to move them rather than meet them. The intention matters. Use a name to build connection, not control it. There is also a quiet grace in giving your own first name freely. It lowers the fence. I am Jordan works better than I am Mr. Gray when you want someone to share honestly. If they respond with your first name, you are both on the same path. If they keep a title on you, keep one on them and let time melt it. Boiled down, the rule of first names is simple. Start with respect. Listen for the invitation, mirror what you are given, and say it like you mean it. A name held gently is a bridge. A name grabbed too fast is a barrier. Choose the bridge. A quiet nod across a crowded room can change a career. Not because the nod is loud, but because it says, I see you, and everyone else should too. That is the rule of giving credit. It is an unspoken law that turns small efforts into shared victories and turns a single win into a stronger team. Think about the last time someone mentioned your name in the right moment. Your shoulders lifted. Your voice came easier. You did not just work harder after that, you worked more boldly. Credit is fuel. It gives people permission to take up space, to try again, to move from the shadows into the circle. Here is how it works in practice. In a meeting, you do not just show the slide. You say, the spark for this came from Maya, who stayed late on Tuesday to solve the tricky part. When a client praises you, you do not deflect with false modesty. You say, I appreciate that, and I want to highlight Jordan and Alina, who carried the heaviest lift on this. When you send a summary email, you add a single clear line. Credit to Sam for the idea, Lena for the build, Raoul for testing, and Priya for keeping us on deadline. Names matter, specifics matter. The room hears them. The room remembers. Giving credit is not only for moments when everyone is watching, it is a quiet habit behind the scenes. Tell a manager how a junior teammate unlocked a roadblock. Tell a teammate how a comment they made last week still shaped your thinking. Give credit to people who are not even in the room yet. Say it when they cannot hear you, and it will still find its way back to them. There is a myth that credit is like a pie, and every slice you hand out leaves you with less. It is the opposite. The more credit you give, the more people associate you with wins that are bigger than yourself. You become the person who turns lights toward others. That is leadership without a label. Do not wait until a grand finale to share it. Do it while the work is messy and the outcome uncertain. Spotlight effort, not just results. Honor the person who asked a tough question, who took a risk, who cleaned up the details no one sees. Catch people doing the right thing and say their name out loud. When praise comes to you, let it land, then widen it. Thank you, and I want to acknowledge who made this possible. When a mistake happens, take responsibility forward and share lessons without throwing anyone under the bus. Protect people in the hard moments and celebrate them in the bright ones. Start today. Before your next message, add one simple sentence that names who helped. Before your next sign-off, say, "This idea belongs to us, and these people made it real." Credit is the easiest gift to give and the hardest to forget. A quiet space between a question and your voice is not empty, it is power. The rule is simple. Pause before you answer. Not a dramatic, awkward silence, just a clean breath of time. That small gap does more work than most words. It lets your heartbeat settle. It gives your thoughts a lane. It signals to everyone watching that you are not reacting, you are choosing. Picture a tense meeting. Someone tosses a tough question your way, eyes slide toward you, and the room waits. If you jump in fast, you risk defending the first idea that shows up. But if you pause, shoulders loose, chin steady, you show that the question is safe with you. You buy yourself clarity. You often buy yourself respect. Here is what that pause can hold. It can hold a gentle breath, slow and through the nose. It can hold a short phrase that buys time, like, "Let me think for a moment," or "I want to give that a careful answer." It can hold a quick scan of your intention. Are you trying to win or trying to be useful? When the pause ends, your words are cleaner because they have passed a small filter. The pause also helps the other person. People feel heard when their words are not trampled. A tiny silence shows that you actually received what they said. Watch how their shoulders drop when you do this. Watch how the tone of a hard conversation softens. In a negotiation, a pause invites the other side to keep talking, and sometimes they reveal the thing you needed to hear. In a friendship, a pause makes room for the feeling under the sentence. There is a rhythm to this. Let the question land. Take one calm breath. If needed, ask a clarifying line. When you say timeline, do you mean for the pilot or the full rollout? Then answer with a simple headline first, followed by detail. If emotion is high, stretch your pause to the length of a slow sip of water. If the moment is delicate, a soft nod before you speak works wonders. Do not mistake speed for intelligence. Quick can be clever, but calm tends to be wise. You are not a search engine. You are a person with judgment, and judgment ripens in the quiet. Try it today with small stakes. When someone says your name, count to 3 in your head. In a text thread, draft your reply, set the phone down, and reread before you send. In that extra beat, you will catch the word to remove, the promise to reshape, the tone to soften. The world races to fill silence. Let others rush. The one who pauses steers. The quickest way to chill a room is to burn too bright. People rarely say it aloud, but groups protect their rhythm. When one person sprints too far ahead, even for the right reasons, the group feels exposed, judged, or suddenly behind. That is why the art is not dimming your talent, but directing it so the whole circle gets warmer. Picture a new hire who walks into a meeting like a lightning strike. They talk fast, have all the answers, and solve problems on the spot. Impressive, yes, but watch the eyes around the table. Shoulders tighten, jokes get quieter. Afterward, the new hire wonders why people stopped looping them in. They mistook volume for value. Groups don't resent excellence. They resent being made to feel small. There is a smarter move. When you have the answer, invite the path to it. Ask a teammate to share what they tried first. Build on their piece and say it plainly. We are close because of what you started. When you find the bug, credit the person who kept hunting when others wanted to give up. When you land a win, Frame it as the product of shared momentum. Those words are not decoration. They are social oxygen. You can still be fast. Just be synchronized. Leave beats in your sentences so others can step in. Share the headline, then ask, does this match what you are seeing on your side? And notice how often people hold their breath around you, and adjust your pace until they breathe again. The point is not to hide your edge. It is to make your edge feel like a guardrail, not a knife. The more you spotlight others, the safer it becomes to show your own light. Leaders remember who keeps the room generous. Teammates remember who makes them look capable in front of the room. Great players do not dominate the play. They widen it. They bring the ball back into space, then pass it to the person who can take the clean shot. That is how trust compounds. This rule does not mean shrink forever. If a group always punishes growth, it is a sign to change rooms, not your brightness. But test first. Most of the time, what looks like resistance is just fear that the tempo has left them behind. Slow the tempo, pull them into the song, and watch how the whole band starts to sound better. Shining is not about standing in the center. It is about lifting the ceiling so everyone can stand taller. Do that consistently, and when it is your turn for the spotlight, the room will be the one turning it on. Chairs talk before anyone does. Walk into a room and they're already nudging you toward a showdown, a secret, or a shared plan. The simple rule of seating position is this: choose the spot that makes the conversation feel like the outcome you want. Not just where you sit, but the angle you create, the distance you allow, the message you send without saying a word. Imagine meeting a friend to clear the air. Most people default to sitting face to face, a tiny courtroom. Instead, slide to a right angle, same table, corner seat, elbows almost touching. The table becomes a shared surface, not a barrier. Your bodies point at the problem, not at each other. The conversation softens. Psychologically, this lowers defenses and makes it easier to listen instead of react, which opens the door to real understanding. Now, picture a team meeting where you disagree with your boss, but want collaboration, not a clash. Sit diagonally to the head of the table, or just off their shoulder. A subtle shift turns a debate into a joint review. You're close enough to show respect, angled enough to signal you're working with them, not against them. When people feel safe, they're more open to ideas, and alignment comes faster than argument. On a first date, side by side at a bar quietly says we're exploring together. Across a small table can be charming, but if nerves spike, scoot your chair to a slight angle. Distance is a dial. A few inches change the station from performance to presence. You're not interrogating across a divide, you're discovering from the same side. Even car rides know this truth. Some of the most honest talks happen looking out the windshield, not into each other's eyes. Side by side lowers the pressure to perform. Words wander out when attention is shared by the road, the music, the night. It's easier to say the hard thing when your bodies are already aligned. At home, if a conversation is tense, don't take the opposite armchair like opposing counsel. Sit kitty corner on the couch, or pull up a chair so your knees point toward the same blank space. Put the problem in that space. Sit with the person. Small angles create big outcomes. The choice of position can move a moment from competition to connection, simply because it feels safer to be real when your body isn't braced for impact. So the rule is quiet but powerful. Sit where your posture says partnership. Sit so the table becomes a shared map. Sit so the room helps you. Position is a message. Make yours say, we're on the same side. One raised eyebrow can undo a perfect sentence. A soft exhale can rescue a clumsy one. That is the quiet math of human connection. Tone does more work than words. You feel it before you notice it. The muscles of a face, the pace of a breath, the weight on the end of a sentence. Meaning lives there, not just in syllables. Think about the phrases you use every day. "I'm fine" can land like a closed door or an open window. "Nice job" can sound like a pat on the head or genuine respect. "We need to talk" can feel like a threat or simply an invitation to focus. Same words, different world. What decides the difference is the temperature of your voice, the patience in your pauses, the presence in your body. Warmth invites people in. Sharpness pushes them out. A calm rhythm tells the other person there is room for both of you here, and that changes the conversation before it begins. There is a reason tone carries so much power. Our nervous systems are listening for safety. When the voice is steady and the face is kind, defenses ease, attention widens, and trust has a place to stand. People speak more honestly when they do not have to protect themselves from your edge. That is how small moments of tone turn into big moments of openness and progress. So how do you practice this, especially when the stakes feel high? Start before the words. Breathe once, longer out than in. Unlock your jaw, lower your shoulders. Let your first sentence be slower than your mind wants it to be. If emotions are present, acknowledge them before solutions. You do not have to fix anything in the first beat. Naming the feeling gives you both ground to stand on, and advice can come after that ground is set. Matching pace helps too. If they are quick and tense, you can choose a steadier tempo that says we can take our time. If they are quiet, you can meet them gently so the quiet does not feel like pressure. Tone is not just volume or niceness. It is alignment. Your intention, your body, and your words all telling the same story. In feedback, a firm but even tone separates the person from the behavior and makes growth feel possible. In conflict, a measured voice keeps the future bigger than the past. Even silence has tone. A respectful pause can say, "I am listening," louder than any reassurance could. People rarely remember the exact sentences you delivered. They remember how you made them feel while you delivered them. The unwritten rule is simple. Let your tone carry the meaning you hope your words will have. Lead with tone, and your words will land where you want them to. Tone over words, always. Pocket favors last longer than pocket change. You hold a door, lend a charger, introduce someone to a friend, and it disappears from your day, but not from theirs. That small act becomes a sticky note in their memory, and it stays pinned far longer than the moment deserved. This is the rule of remembered favors. Quiet kindness is archived, reviewed, and replayed. People keep a private ledger, not to trap you, but to mark how you made them feel when they needed a hand. A borrowed umbrella on a stormy walk. A 5-minute proofread before a big send. A ride when the last train is gone. These tiny rescues echo. Here is the twist. The ledger grows heaviest in silence. When a favor goes unacknowledged, it swells into something awkward. When it is named and appreciated, it stays light. Gratitude is how you right-size the memory. Name the favor out loud. Thank fast. If you can, be specific. You stayed late to help me fix the deck. That mattered. Clear, sincere, and soon. Repayment works best when it mirrors the effort. Do not bury a pebble under a boulder. If they gave you advice, make their next ask effortless. If you cannot repay them directly, amplify them. Recommend their work, Mention their name in rooms they cannot enter. Credit is a currency that spends everywhere. If you are the one giving, keep it clean. Offer something finite and clear. I can look at your slides for 15 minutes. Build an exit ramp. If not today, no worries. Let them know there are no strings. The kindest favours are done without an invoice attached. Ironically, that is why they are remembered. Asking for help has its own grace. Start small. Ask for something someone can do quickly and well. Explain why they were the right person, not just the closest person. And always give a painless no. If this does not fit, I completely understand. Requests that protect dignity get yeses that protect relationships. There is a rhythm that keeps this rule working. Say thank you within 1 hour. Follow up with a tiny return gesture within 1 week. Pay forward a kindness inspired by theirs within 1 month. You are not balancing a debt. You are keeping the memory warm while it is still close to the surface. Do not confuse kindness with strategy, but do not pretend the world ignores it either. Remembered favours build reputations one small brick at a time. Years later, a door opens. A warning arrives early, a chance appears, and you will wonder why. It was the day you lent the umbrella. Speed is a language. A quick reply says, I see you, I respect your time, and I will not leave you hanging. It is tiny, but it changes how people feel about you. Not because you typed more, but because you showed up fast. Here is the rule of quick replies. Respond quickly, even if briefly, and set clear expectations for the full response. A fast acknowledgement beats a perfect message that arrives too late. Trust is built in moments, and a quick reply is a small deposit you can make every single day. You do not need to solve everything in the first message. You just need 3 things: receipt, timeline, next step. Try this. Got it. Thanks for the heads up. I am tied up until this afternoon, and I will send the full update by tonight. That is under 15 seconds to write, and it removes uncertainty. The other person can breathe again. Use names. Keep tone warm. 1 or 2 lines are enough. If something is unclear, ask one clarifying question and promise when you will circle back. When you need more time to think, say so. I want to give this the thought it deserves. I will reply by tomorrow morning. You are not being slow. You are being responsible. Boundaries matter. A quick reply is not a summons to be available at all hours. If it is after hours, try a soft acknowledgement with a boundary. Thanks for sending. I will look first thing in the morning. If you work across time zones, add the zone and keep it simple. I will reply by your morning. Consistency turns boundaries into expectations, not surprises. Avoid the silent stall. Seeing a message and waiting days to craft the perfect novel makes you look careless, even if you are busy. A short reply now and a thoughtful message later beats silence every time. And when you do take longer than promised, name it and reset the clock. Sorry for the delay. Here is where I am, and I will have the rest by tomorrow. Do not punt the work back with empty replies. Thanks is not enough when a decision is needed. Offer one next step, even if the next step is I will run this by finance and confirm. If the topic is sensitive, you can still reply quickly and move it to a better channel. Got your note. This deserves a call. Are you free after lunch? Quick replies are not about urgency. They are about care, clarity, and momentum. Answer fast, set the plan, and keep your word. People remember how you make them feel while they are waiting. Make them feel seen. There is a reason the quietest voice in the room can pull every eye without shouting. Attention follows scarcity. We are wired to lean toward what feels rare, what might slip away if we look down at the wrong moment. That is the rule of scarcity and attention. What is limited becomes luminous. Think about a sunset. You have seen countless skies, but the moment the colours begin to fade, your focus sharpens. You are present because you know the show will end. The same truth governs how people listen to you, how they value your time, and how you choose what matters in your own day. Most of us leak attention by being everywhere, all at once, all the time. Constant availability cheapens your presence. When every app can interrupt you, your mind becomes a crowded hallway. Create scarcity, and the hallway clears. Silence your notifications and set small windows for messages. Put your phone in another room when you work. Tell people when you are deeply focused and when you will be reachable. Boundaries turn your time into something worth protecting, and others will learn to protect it too. Scarcity shapes the way you speak. The more words you stack, the more each word weighs less. Cut the filler. Slow down. Leave a beat of quiet before your main point. Make the important lines short enough to land and heavy enough to stay. People remember the sentence that floats in the silence after it. They remember what felt rare. Scarcity governs creativity. Pick one task and give it your full attention for one short sprint. Not forever, just long enough to feel the pressure of a closing window. The clock's edge sharpens effort. When you know you have only a handful of minutes to move, you move. Scarcity also breathes inside relationships. When you show up fully for a brief moment, it often matters more than a distracted hour. Look someone in the eye. Keep your promise to be present. The memory sticks because full attention is not common. Curate what you consume. Choose fewer inputs and better ones. A single page read with curiosity beats 100 headlines skimmed with indifference. Empty space is not wasted. It is seasoning. It makes the flavours of your life stand out. If you want your work to be sought out, make quality scarce and predictably delivered. Do it less often, but better. Do it at a rhythm people can rely on. Familiarity brings trust. Scarcity brings focus. In a world of endless noise, the rare thing is a steady mind. Protect it. Spend it like a precious coin. When you make your attention scarce, you make your life vivid. And when you treat your presence as rare, others will too. A stranger tilts his head, and without thinking, you tilt yours. That tiny echo is ancient, automatic, and powerful. It is the rule of body mirroring. The quiet language that tells people, I get you, I am with you, we can relax. Start with the simplest mirror, posture. If someone leans forward, soften your own spine and lean in a touch. If they sit back, let your shoulders settle and give them room. You are not copying, you are harmonizing. Think of it like humming the same note under their melody. A beat later, match their pace. If they speak slowly, breathe slower and let your words stretch. If their energy is bright and quick, warm up your tempo, but keep a notch under theirs, so it never feels like an act. Hands matter more than you think. Open palms invite trust. If they open their hands, ease yours open on your next sentence. If they cross their arms, you can mirror the feeling without building a wall. Place a hand lightly on your forearm, or rest your hands together. Mirror the comfort, not the barricade. Feet tell the truth too. If their feet point toward you, it is a green light. If they angle away, mirror a little distance and give them an easy exit so they do not feel trapped. The timing is as important as the move. Wait a breath before you mirror. That tiny delay keeps it natural and stops you from looking like a mime. Start with the broad strokes first: posture, pace, and energy. Then add the finer details if it feels right: gestures, head tilt, even a gentle sync with their breathing. When you feel a groove, test the lead. Shift your posture slightly and see if they follow. If they do, you have rapport. If they do not, go back to matching and give it more time. Never mirror quirks, insecurities, or pain. Do not copy accents, stutters, fidgets, or anything that could embarrass them. The aim is respect, not imitation. Intense moments, mirror to calm, not to escalate. Lower your voice, slow your hands, ground your feet, and let them catch your steadiness. Culture and context matter. In a serious setting, keep it subtle. With children, play bigger and mirror their joy. With someone grieving, make yourself smaller, slower, and gentler. Your body says, "I am here, and I can hold this with you." When it is time to close, lead toward ease. Uncross, breathe, and open your stance. If they follow, you have landed together. Body mirroring is not a trick. It is a practice of attention. Show up, tune in, echo what is human, and people will feel it before they ever notice it. The room is laughing. Your story has landed, and that's exactly when you should grab your coat. Not because you're done, but because the moment is perfect. This is the unspoken rule of leaving at the peak. It's not about doing less. It's about leaving smarter, so the last taste is the sweetest. The last note still rings in the air. Here's how it looks in real life. You're at a dinner, conversation is electric, and a friend says, "One more round?" That little instinct whispers, "End it while it's high." You smile, stand up, and say, "This was so good. Let's keep it this good." Everyone walks away with the best version of the night, not the stretched, tired one that follows when we push past the top. Another place this shows up is in meetings. The team hits clarity, decisions are clear, energy is alive. That's when a great leader says, "We've got what we came for, let's end here." 30 minutes early is not a missed opportunity. It's a preserved one. People remember the momentum and carry it into the next thing, instead of tumbling into tangents that dilute the win. With people you care about, the rule is gentler. You're reconnecting after a rough patch. It's warm, it's honest, it's healing. You could keep unpacking, but you say, "This feels good. Let's pause here and pick it up tomorrow." The message isn't retreat. It's respect for a good ending. Starting the next talk from a good ending is easier than trying to recover from a frayed one. Psychologically, we judge experiences by their high point and their ending. When you close while the energy is high, the story you carry forward stays bright. And there's another reason: stay too long and your brain adapts. Novelty fades, jokes repeat, praise dulls, magic turns routine. That's habituation at work. Our attention stops reacting to what it's seen too many times. By exiting while the spark is vivid, you protect the spark itself. Think about creative work. You hit a line, a riff, a solution, and it clicks. Leave a little fuel in the tank. The next time you sit down, you re-enter at altitude. Ending at the peak makes consistency easier because you aren't wringing the moment dry. You're banking momentum for later. The impulse to stay is strong. We want one more laugh, one more slide, one more memory. But the shift is simple. Not hoarding moments, honouring them. Not squeezing time, shaping it. When you leave at the peak, you're choosing how the story will be told back to yourself. You're choosing the version that stays golden. Carry this rule into rooms, into work, into conversations, into your own routines. Close while it's bright so it can stay bright. The peak is not a place to camp. It's the perfect place to say, we'll end here. And that's why the best memories feel unfinished in the best way, complete enough to hold, open enough to return. Leave at the peak, and the peak will leave with you. They never announce it, but people keep score. Not the loud score with trophies and banners, the quiet one. How fast you reply, how steady you show up, how often you keep a promise when nobody is watching. That is the rule of subtle competition. It is the current beneath every room, and you either learn to swim with it or you drift. Subtle competition is not about beating someone. It is about being the person others must adjust to. In a meeting, it is the calm voice that moves the room. In a friend group, it is the one who remembers the small thing and acts on it. At the gym, it is the person who adds a little more weight and says nothing. That quiet pressure changes everyone's pace. Done right, it raises the waterline for the whole group. Here is the twist most people miss. The fastest way to win the quiet game is to make others better. Share a trick. Send the draft. Give credit before you are asked. It looks generous because it is, but it is also smart. When the people around you improve, your standard becomes the new normal. You are the person who upgrades the room. That is a reputation you cannot buy. Set your scoreboard in private. Pick a metric you control. Fewer excuses, sharper sentences, cleaner handoffs, more follow through. If you can measure it without anyone else's permission, you can improve it without anyone else's drama. The outside world will notice later. Let them arrive late. Signal less. Do more. The loudest victories age fast. The quiet ones compound. You do not need to post every step, announce every plan, or perform every effort. When the result lands, it will speak on your behalf. Let people wonder how you did it. Mystery is a competitive edge. Choose rivals who pull you upward. A rival can be a friend, a mentor, or a stranger who never knew your name. Study what they do well. Borrow the principle, not the costume. You are not trying to become them. You are building a version of you that would make them nervous. When tension rises, stay generous. Praise in public. Challenge in private. Resist the small win of being right in the moment. Aim for the large win of being trusted over time. Trust is the currency of the quiet game. The person others trust gets the call, the chance, the benefit of the doubt. This is the rule of subtle competition. Show up one level higher than expected, help others climb, and let the trail of calm, consistent results tell the story. No chest beating, no victory laps, just quiet upgrades day after day until the room is different and everyone knows why, even if nobody says it out loud. Before you say a word, your clothes are already voting on your behalf. That is the quiet truth behind dress codes. They are not cages, they are translations. They tell a room you understand where you are, who you are with, and what matters in that moment. Start with respect. Dress for the people you are meeting and the purpose you share. If the invite says casual, choose ironed casual. If it says business casual, choose structured casual. When the language is vague, aim one notch more polished than the room you expect. You can always take off a layer, loosen a collar, roll a sleeve, but you cannot conjure polish you did not bring. Fit comes first. Clothes that skim, not squeeze, always read as intentional. Fabric follows. Natural textures breathe, drape, and age with grace. Then formality. Collars, cuffs, and clean lines raise the tone without shouting. And finally, function. Shoes you can actually walk in. Pockets that carry what you need. A layer that respects the weather and the thermostat. Let shoes tell the truth. They carry the most judgment with the least effort. Clean, conditioned, and appropriate beats expensive every single time. The same for grooming. A wrinkle whispers that you did not plan. Lint, loose threads, unshined leather. These are small leaks that sink the ship. Match the host, never the spotlight. At a wedding, you honor the couple and do not compete with them. At a funeral, you quiet everything but kindness. At work, mirror the highest standard that feels authentic to your role. If you are client-facing, dress like the invoice reflects you. Use color with purpose. Neutrals travel anywhere. Earth tones soften, blues reassure, black sharpens, white invites scrutiny. If a color or pattern is loud, it needs a reason. Texture is the secret volume knob. Tweed, cord, knit, and suede add depth without noise. Accessories should feel like punctuation, not paragraphs. A simple watch, a clean belt, a scarf with story. If you cannot explain the hat, leave it. Logos are someone else's name. Let the message be yours. Carry insurance, a blazer in the car, an extra pair of shoes at the office, a crisp shirt folded flat. Even a thoughtful bag can lift the whole picture. When in doubt, ask. Quietly text the host. Check the venue photos. Read the room as you approach the door. Honor culture. When you step into someone else's tradition, follow their lead with humility. Dress code is respect in fabric form. The unspoken rule is simple. Dress codes are not about being perfect. They are about being prepared. Wear your intention. Let your clothes do the quiet work so your voice can do the rest. Noise obeys a strange law. Put enough people together, and the quickest way to steer them isn't to shout louder, it's to go quiet. Not the kind of silence that abandons the moment, but the kind that gathers it. Here is the rule of silence in crowds. A brief pause is not absence, it is a signal. In a stadium before the anthem, in a meeting when ideas start colliding, in a hallway after someone drops tough news, a pocket of quiet tells everyone where to place their attention. It marks the beat, so the group can move together. Think about those seconds before a concert starts. The cheer fades, the lights dim, and the hush spreads faster than any announcement. That quiet directs thousands at once. Or picture a busy platform where a sudden stillness ripples down the line. Heads turn, people recalibrate. No one agreed to it, yet everyone feels it. Psychologically, this works because silence lowers the temperature in the room and heightens what truly matters. We mirror the calm we perceive, and attention flows to the clearest cue. A pause makes that cue unmistakable. When people sense that calm, they feel safer and more open to what comes next, because the noise in their heads has somewhere to land. Try this in a heated discussion. Someone insists, "We need an answer right now." Instead of rushing to fill the space, let 3 seconds pass. Breathe, then say, "Let's hear from the person who hasn't spoken yet." Or simply, "What problem are we actually solving?" That small pocket of quiet resets the group from urgency to clarity. It gives permission for better thinking to surface, not just louder thinking. The instinct is to respond faster, stack more words, get control. But in crowds, control often belongs to whoever sets the pace. Silence does that. It is not withdrawal, it is leadership. Not shrinking, but shaping. Not a retreat, but a reset. This contrast is the shift that matters. A useful trick is to name the pause and then hold it. Let's take a breath. Quiet. Okay, what are our options? By labeling the silence, you protect it from being mistaken for confusion or indifference. The group recognizes the pause as purposeful, and their attention organizes around it. If you are the one who can stay calm When a room leans toward chaos, your quiet becomes a lighthouse. You do not have to be the boss to do this. You just need the courage to stop adding noise and start shaping the signal. So remember the rule. In crowds, the first person to choose quiet sets the tempo for everyone else. Count one slow breath, then another. Let the room catch up to you, and watch how, without forcing anyone, you lead them exactly where they needed to go. Power often hides in plain sight. A nod from across the room. A text that says, "Thinking of you." A hand on a shoulder that doesn't try to fix anything, just says, "I'm here." These are not grand gestures. They are tiny ones, almost invisible, and yet they move the needle of a day. Call it the rule of small gestures. When the moment is tense or uncertain, the smallest sign of care can shift the whole tone. Not performative kindness, but specific attention. Not a speech, but a sentence. These micro moments change how people feel around you and how you feel about yourself. They turn ordinary interactions into a quiet bond, often moving a moment from competition to connection. Here is what it looks like in real life. A co-worker slips into a meeting late, eyes tired, shoulders tight. You don't make a joke about time. You slide your notes toward them and whisper, "I marked what we covered. You're caught up." After the meeting, they exhale and say, "Thanks, I thought I'd blown it." You shrug. "You're carrying a lot. I've got your back where I can." Nothing heroic. No grand rescue. Just a small bridge where a gap was forming. Psychologically, small signals of care create a feeling of safety. Safety lowers defenses, steadies emotion, and makes people more open and cooperative. It builds trust, not by demanding it, but by inviting it. This effect is why the tiniest, well-timed gesture often matters more than an elaborate plan. When people feel seen, they do not need to fight to be noticed. Connection comes forward on its own. A script of life written this way leans on simple behavioral truths. When attention is specific and kindness is consistent, motivation and goodwill grow. You can practice this almost anywhere. If a friend says, "Big day today," follow with, "Do you want hype or space?" That question is a small gesture because it lets them choose what they need. When service is slow, meet the waiter's stress with "No rush, we're good," and mean it. If a stranger drops something, kneel to help without making it a performance. When a partner finishes a hard task, notice the effort out loud. "I saw how carefully you handled that." Each instance costs almost nothing, yet leaves a residue of respect that lingers long after the moment is over. The rule of small gestures is not about being nice to get something. It is about attention as a form of generosity. It is not a shortcut around real problems. It is the path that makes real conversations possible. Tiny, honest acts soften the day so the big stuff can be faced with steadier hands. Start where you stand, one line, one nod, one quiet handoff of notes. Small gestures, repeated over time, become trust, and trust changes the weather. Power often belongs to the first voice, but the win often belongs to the quiet one. The rule of who speaks first isn't a trick line or a magic phrase. It is a choice about framing, timing, and the kind of influence you want. In any room, the very first words set the story. They define what the conversation is about and what counts as a good outcome. But the person who waits learns. They collect tells, priorities, fears, and leverage. So which should you be? If the room is scattered and people are unsure why they are there, speak first. Give the moment a direction. A short, calm frame like, "Here is what success looks like for us today," pulls drifting minds into a single lane. If the room is loaded, if stakes are high and people are guarded, wait. Your silence becomes a mirror that shows everyone who they are under pressure. People reveal more than they plan when they rush to fill a quiet space. In negotiation, first words are anchors. If you speak first, do it to anchor fair and clear. Plant a standard that sounds reasonable and comes with a story. Humans don't compare numbers in a vacuum. We compare stories. Offer the context, the why, the value. Then stop. The pause is where their reaction tells you whether your anchor held or drifted. If you choose not to speak first, let them anchor, then test it gently. Ask what made that feel right for them. Often they will adjust to their own better logic once they hear it out loud. In interviews and sales, lead with purpose, not pressure. A calm opener like, "To make this useful, I would love to understand what matters most to you," earns trust and hands you a roadmap. When they take it, listen without jumping in. People feel most respected when they finish a thought without interruption. When they finish, use a short summary to prove you heard them, and only then offer your perspective. In conflict, the first voice can either inflame or cool. If emotions are hot, go second. Let the other person unload. When they are done, name the feeling you hear before you present facts. Calm does not mean passive. It means you refuse to wrestle in the mud and invite them to stand on ground where solutions live. The quiet habit that changes everything is the pause. Breathe, take a sip of water. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Silence is not empty. It is full of information. Speak first to set the story. Wait first to learn the plot. Choose on purpose. The power is not in the order of voices, it is in the intent behind yours. The calendar flips, the cake is gone, and your stomach does that tiny elevator drop. You forgot someone's birthday. In that moment, the mind wants to sprint into explanations. Work was wild, the week slid by, you meant to send a message. But there's an unspoken rule here. The fix is never your reason. It is their feeling. Think of it like this. You open a chat with Maya and type, "I missed your day." That's on me? I imagine that stung. Tell me what made you smile anyway. If you are free Friday, I want to take you for dumplings and give your year a proper start. That's the rule of birthday forgetting in action. Mirror the feeling, make amends, then plan a small gesture that says, "I see you." Mirror feelings first. Fixes can wait. Psychologically, this approach works because being understood turns defenses down and connection up. When someone feels accurately seen, they are far more open to a next step together. A clean acknowledgement plus a specific make good taps into fairness and autonomy. We take responsibility. We offer something tangible, and we let them choose how to mark it. People cooperate when they feel heard. They warm to repair when it is concrete. Here is what it looks like in everyday life. With a co-worker, you show up the next morning with their favourite coffee and a note. "I blanked on the day. That was my miss. Lunch on me this week. Your pick." You are not bargaining for forgiveness. You are creating a small new moment that says the relationship matters now. With a cousin you rarely see, you leave a voice note. "I owe you an honest sorry." How did you celebrate? Let me send something that fits the party you wanted. Simple words, sincere tone, a clear plan. There is a trap to avoid. Don't over-celebrate out of guilt and make it about your performance. The point is not to outshine the day you missed. It's to steady the person you care about. Birthdays are symbols. Missing the symbol can feel like being invisible. But memory isn't archived by calendars, it's edited by moments. Create one warm, well-aimed moment now, and the story they tell about you changes from "they forgot me" to "they showed up for me." If you want a shorthand, it is this: own it, honor them, offer something. You can do it in 2 sentences and 1 small plan. Most people don't need a parade. They need proof that they matter in your world. So when you forget, do not disappear. Walk toward it with warmth and a plan. The rule of birthday forgetting is not punishment. It is practice. Late is still love when it is thoughtful, and thoughtful is the point. Silence is not empty. It is an answer. The phone doesn't buzz. The voicemail stays quiet, and your mind starts building stories. Before the spiral, remember a simple code that protects your time and your dignity. Reach out once with clarity. Make the call. If it goes to voicemail, leave a short human message: who you are, why you called, and when you are free. No biography, no pressure. Then put the phone down and let life keep moving. After a little space, send one gentle follow-up. A brief text that signals ease, not need. Hey, just checking in. No rush if now is not a good time. This second touch is not a chase. It is a chance for them to meet you halfway. You have shown openness and respect. That is enough. Now the important part: wait. Not anxiously, not refreshing your screen like it owes you something. Go back to your work, your people, your day. If there is no reply, the third step is to move on without resentment. Not every silence is personal, but every silence is informative. Some doors are locked. This rule keeps you from standing in the hallway. Why it works is simple. Boundaries create clarity. When you do not flood someone with pings, you show calm self-respect, and you spare them the awkwardness of a pile-up. When you stop after a second try, you teach yourself that your attention is not an open tab. You can care about someone and still conserve your energy. If they circle back later, meet them where they are without keeping score. Thanks for reaching out, still up for connecting. What time works for you? No guilt trip, no sarcasm. Your standard is responsiveness, not revenge. If they make a pattern of disappearing, match your investment to their consistency. People tell you who they are with their timing. There are exceptions. If it is truly urgent, say so clearly and specifically. This is time sensitive because of a deadline or safety concern. If it involves health or family, be generous with your interpretations. Life gets heavy, and grace costs you nothing. In a professional setting, combine courtesy with structure. Call once, then send a concise email with a clear subject and a single line of context and action needed. If there is still nothing after a reasonable window, close the loop. Archiving for now. Happy to revisit if priorities change. The rule of unreturned calls is not about pride, it is about peace. You offer presence, you offer a reminder, and then you offer yourself the freedom to move on. Because the right people return, the wrong ones reveal themselves, and your time remains yours. A silent chair can speak louder than a crowd. Picture it. You sit down to make a decision. Everyone has an opinion, and yet the wisest voice belongs to the seat that is still empty. That is the rule of the empty chair. It says, leave space for the person who is not in the room, the one who will live with the consequences, the you of tomorrow, the friend who stayed home, the stranger who will feel what you choose today. Use it when the room gets loud. Before you vote, approve, buy, or post, glance at that empty spot and ask, who is missing here? Maybe it is the quiet teammate who hates conflict. Maybe it is the customer who will open the box next week. Maybe it is your future self. tired after a long day, hoping you made the kinder choice. Give that invisible guest a voice and let it sit beside your pride, your urgency, and your fear. You can make it literal. Pull out a chair in meetings and call it the listener's seat. When tension rises at home, put one more chair at the table and say, "This is for the version of us who still respects each other." In your head, do it on the fly. Imagine the person who would challenge you and let them talk. What would they praise? What would they warn you about? There are 3 questions the empty chair loves. What would be fair if no one knew who would receive the outcome? What would still feel right if someone I admire watched me do it? What would I be grateful I chose a month from now? Speak those answers out loud. The act of saying them slows you down just enough to save you from a fast mistake. This rule is not about being soft. It is about being complete. It kills shortcuts and exposes blind spots. It protects the absent and humbles the present. It keeps your future self in the loop before regret sends a message back in time. When you feel yourself speeding up, let the chair slow you. When a decision feels heavy, let it share the weight. When a comment could sting, let the chair hold your impulse until your words are clean. The empty seat does not demand perfection. It asks for presence. It does not silence you. It teaches you to listen to more than your own echo. Try it today. Leave a chair open on purpose. Give it a name if you need to. Invite your better judgment to sit there. Then act as if you will have to face that silent witness later. Because you will. The room will empty, the noise will fade, and it will just be you and the choice you made. Let the quiet chair be proud of you. Doors rarely open on the first knock. That is the quiet truth behind the rule of follow-up. The first touch introduces you. The second touch earns attention. The third touch proves you are real. People are busy. Messages sink into crowded inboxes and buzzing phones. Following up is not nagging. It is guiding a good intention back to the surface. Start with timing. Give a little space, then send a nudge within 1 to 2 days while the context is still warm. Keep it short and useful. Lead with the thread you are pulling, not your feelings. Circling back on the proposal we discussed, here is the tightened outline and the exact next step. This turns a vague reminder into a gift. Clarity. Add value each time. Include a link, a fresh idea, a small draft, a summary, or a decision they can simply approve. When you lower the energy required to respond, replies appear. If you need a yes or no, ask for a tiny action, not a grand decision. Are you open to a 10-minute call on Thursday afternoon? Or would next Monday morning be easier? 2 options invite motion. Watch your tone. Confidence with warmth travels farther than apology with anxiety. Swap sorry for the delay with thank you for your time. Replace just checking in with a specific reason to reconnect. People respond to purpose. Match the channel to the person. If the conversation began by email, follow up there. If silence lingers, try a brief message on a platform they use daily. Keep the same subject line or first sentence so their brain recognizes the thread. Consistency feels safe. Use a simple rhythm. Touch once, wait a few days, touch again with added value, then one final check. After 3 respectful pings, offer a clean off-ramp. I will assume this is not a priority right now. If things change, I am here. That protects the relationship and your energy. Stack credibility as you follow up. Reference alignment, timing and relevance. I saw your team announced a new launch. Here is how my part reduces your ramp time. You are not asking for attention. You are offering relief. Follow up with yourself too. Put reminders on a calendar. Keep a light log of who, when, and what you sent. The habit removes guesswork and quiets the fear of being annoying because you know exactly where each thread stands. A friend to whom you owe a call, a client who meant to approve, a hiring manager who liked your resume. Most people stop too soon. The unspoken rule is simple. The person who cares enough to nudge with respect and substance often wins the moment. Knock again, smarter, and the door opens.